always obey.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for being here, everybody. Just as a note of logistics, we have the public forum is an opportunity for citizens to come and speak to the council about just whatever item or subject or topic you want to talk about. The sign-up sheet, I've already got it up here, and there's 3 names on here. If there's anybody who wants to speak to the council during the public forum at the beginning, we'll have you put your name on this form. But if you want to talk about a specific item on the agenda, and it's a public forum or public hearing, then we'll have you come up during that public hearing. Does that make sense? So is there anybody by raise of hands who wants to speak during the public forum that's not during a public hearing agenda item? Okay, all right, we're good. Okay, then we will call this meeting to order. And we're going to have an invocation. Oh, we want to recognize that all the council members are here. Jessica Egbert is en route and not speeding, so she's not quite here yet. But she is here electronically via phone. If you want to say hi to everybody, Jessica.
Hello.
We can hear her. Okay, so we'll begin with an invocation by Councilmember Jones, and then I will lead us in the pledge after that.
Our Heavenly Father, we come before Thee this evening, grateful for the opportunity to live in this free country and grateful that we have an opportunity to gather as residents of our community to discuss the issues that are most relevant to our prosperity and our quality of life. We're grateful for all that Thou has blessed us with. We pray that Thou will bless us this evening, that we can have a constructive dialogue. We pray that Thou will please bless our country, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
We invite everyone to stand and join us in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So the next agenda item is the public forum. I've got Tyler, John, and Jen and Jean Marie on the list, but I believe that you guys are wanting to talk during the public comment. Is that right? Any of you want to come up now, or all 3 of you, 4 of you are wanting to talk during the public hearing? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Then, seeing that we don't have anyone to present at the public forum, we'll move on with our next agenda item. This next agenda item is a ceremonial item, and I just want to recognize this ceremonial item is to swear in our new police chief, Chief Hooley, and we're grateful that he's here and his family and lots of fellow friends to support him. We want to recognize especially our own Mapleton City police officers. Thanks for coming and supporting and being here for that. This is a big change for a department to receive a new chief, and I've been very humbled to be able to get to know the officers a little bit more during this process, and I'm so grateful for how it's turned out and the support that we've gotten for this change. I also want to recognize that Chief Jackson, although he's not here, he really wanted to be here. He's in Denver with his daughter being sworn into the military, so he needed to be there instead of here, but he wishes he was here and gives his love. So at that, we will move right into the swearing in, and we will turn that over to Camille.
I, repeat your name,
I, Clay Dean,
solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the laws and ordinances of Mapleton City,
and the laws and ordinances of Mapleton City.
and that I will discharge the duties
Discharge the duties
of my office
of my office.
with fidelity. Congratulations.
So what I'd like to do is come down for a couple pictures with myself, and if the council wants to come down for a picture as well, maybe. And then after that, we'll let you guys as a family or officers and friends to go out into the foyer and do pictures and whatnot out there, if that's okay. That way we can move on with the meeting. So let's take a few really quick right now.
I think he wants all of you. Oh, he will do one. Okay. Scoot that way just a little. There we go. 1, 2, 3.
All right, if you're here to see me, let's go meet outside.
Man, that was more than half of the room.
Rob, will you go get the door? No, Sean. No, Sean. He's on vacation.
It's quite a crowd.
Thanks, Rob. Okay, we'll move on. I just want to recognize any of our Mapleton Youth City Council members who are here. Would you guys raise your hands? A couple of you? 3, 4? Awesome. Welcome. The next agenda item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a section where we can put items that are generally routine in nature and don't really require a discussion. There's 3 items on the consent agenda today. However, there's on item number 2, which is a consideration of a resolution assigning responsibilities to the city council members. We're going to go ahead and do that, but there's been a couple council members and myself as well that had some confusion with some terminology in the specific appointment of the mayor pro tem Poor. So we're going to pull that from that item and just consider the resolution assigning all of the other responsibilities except for that one. So at that, we will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Beck and a second by Councilmember Lake. Roll call, starting with Melanie. Starting with
Do
Jessica.
you need to remove the pro tem from it in your motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, but take out the mayor pro tem item from that consideration.
Okay,
I'll
thank
second
you.
that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we'll start with you, Jessica, if you're still on.
Yep, Eckert, yes.
Bye, yes.
Lake, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Okay. Unanimous. Okay, our next item is one of our public hearing items. It's a consideration of a resolution adopting the Mapleton City Transportation Master Plan, and we'll turn the time over to Rob for that one.
And I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Jeremy to do most of the presentation, although I'll be taking some of it. Jeremy's going to start.
Right.
screen for anybody that's watching for that. It's not gonna be up there if you do it that way.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, can you sit up here? Is that
That's fine, yeah, I
Let's do
apologize.
that,
I
and we
didn't
can see it. Yeah.
realize I'd have to do that.
Yeah. It's coming.
Is there two?
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay. Hey, thank you for your patience. My name is Jeremy Searle. I'm with WCG. I'm the consultant project manager on this. And I appreciate you letting me come up and sit with you and talk a little bit about the Transportation Master Plan. This has been a really great project, and I have to express appreciation to your staff. They're fantastic. They do a really great job. They're really knowledgeable. And I just want to talk through this. I'll give a high-level kind of overview of the Transportation Master Plan, and then let Rob talk through some of the details that he wants to cover. We have here on the screen a website, or what we call a story map, that gives a lot of information about the Transportation Master Plan. This is linked on the city's website and has been for quite some time. And it provides a lot of the same information that's in the document. The document's pretty long, has a lot of detail to it. This will give you the overview. You can look at the projects, you can look at the safety analysis, the connectivity, the travel demand modeling, all that kind of stuff on here really quickly, which is what most people want to see without having to dig through a bunch of pages. And so this works really well for public or for staff or developers or whoever needs to take a look at this. And so there's a lot of different information on here. We've tried to break it up really simply into these different categories. We've got an introduction up here, and I know it's small here, but if it's on your home screen, you can kind of see all the details here. And this talks about future growth and population and employment and different things that we're just trying to plan for and account for as we do the Transportation Master Plan. So when we did this, we met with your staff to talk about future land use, employment. We talked to the neighboring cities. We talked to MAG, which is the regional planning organization, and we gathered all this information and programmed the travel demand model. And using that, we can look at where traffic is now and where that's projected to go over the next 20 and 30 years, right? And so we can make sure that we're accounting for that. So you can kind of see these, you can kind of see that analysis through here. That information is shown here. So here's our existing network, and I know it takes a second to load, but we have maps for each of these that show your existing collectors and arterial roadways, along with different cross-sections that match each of those. And so if you want to look, let's say, just at collectors, you can click these icons, and it'll update the map to just show those, and you can click on the different cross-sections and take a look here. So here we've got a major collector, 3-lane, one each direction with a center turn lane. So things like that. So there's lots of detail on here that you can go through. And this is one of the many things that we evaluated as we went through the master plan. So here's the existing, and then let's see. Sorry, it's a little bit harder when I'm so far away and can't see all the small text. Yeah. One of the things we looked at was 400 North here, right in front, and how that could be transformed. And so you can kind of see this is what it looks like now. And this is kind of a vision of what that could be in the future, this roadway with some on-street parking and pedestrian crossing here. So this is one of the places we took a closer look at and said, what could that look like in the future? And then here's our future network. So this shows future planned roadways, changes to cross-section, future intersection control. So we've got, the signals along US 89 and some future roundabouts and things here in the city as well. So again, I know there's a lot of information in here and we don't have time to go through all the details, but I just want to point out a few highlights. So you can kind of see some of those future intersections. We've got some roundabouts along here, and you can see where all the planned signals are along the UDOT roadway.
Hey, Jeremy, if I could interject too, one of
Yeah,
the
please.
questions that I've received a lot is what does that mean for timing? Or
Yeah.
just because it shows a signal at all these intersections, does that mean for sure a signal is going in at all these intersections? When it comes to the signal control along US 89, that's a corridor agreement with UDOT on where we expect them, that they could be needed. But they still have to meet specific warrants, specific, and that can be, it's a matter of volume, crash data, turning movements, all that kind of stuff as to when they will go in. And so most likely we'll see that, and I expect in the future in most of these locations, if not all of them, but it still has to meet specific warrants. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to the roundabouts. There's not a specific time frame, I would say, on all these roundabouts. It's where we think that based off of the connections and where we need to be able to move onto and off from major streets, where a roundabout would be a safer and a more efficient connection at that intersection. We show them, but we would still be looking to see, when it makes sense is when we have the traffic and when we need to do something more than just a two-way stop, then we'd be looking at a roundabout as an alternative, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for covering that, Rob. You're absolutely right. And UDOT does dictate, when those signals go in on their roadway, and it has to meet those warrants. So yeah, thank you. All right, this next section, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on, but this goes through kind of the travel demand modeling that I talked about a little bit. So this is kind of what the existing traffic volumes look like on here. And as this loads, you'll see some numbers. Those numbers represent thousands of vehicles per day. So if you see like the number 3, that represents 3,000 vehicles per day on that road is currently what you'd see, or what is out there today. And then as we go down, we look out to future conditions in 2035, and then out to 2050. So we can kind of project these and phase out these projects and see when roadways or intersections fail, and then plan for projects to address them. So that's what this section talks about. This is probably the section that a lot of people will be most interested in. So here we have our project list. So, and it's split into some different groups here. So we have roadway projects, we have intersection projects, and then we have sidewalk projects. And all of these are categorized into priorities. And so you can kind of see the high, medium, and low priority. Obviously, the city is going to be focusing on those high priority projects first. And so on. A few to note, right, that are high priority. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Sorry, this is really testing my skill to run a mouse from this far away.
Can you? Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, you're driving it just off of that.
Yeah.
I thought you had it on here as well.
No.
There you go. So you're basically driving blind.
I am a little
Oh,
bit,
man,
yeah.
no wonder you're frustrated.
I think you'd have to change the display settings, which
Well, it
I
should
didn't
pull
want
it
to.
up.
So
I
it's
don't
on
know
that
what
one.
this thing is. What is that?
I don't know what that is.
Here, let's close that. It doesn't-
Can you email it to me, Camilla?
It's okay. I'll keep driving blind. So, sorry.
You're doing a good job.
Thanks.
Matters.
Thanks for being patient with me. Okay, we'll zoom in this way. All right, so we've got a handful of projects on here. One that I want to talk about, obviously UDOT is working on the new Dry Creek interchange right now and the improvements out to State Street here. That does not include the connection over to US 89, right? And that's really key for Mapleton, is to get access to that interchange. And obviously this is a very complicated area with homes and railroads and grade changes and all of that. And so we just have a straight line here. It's probably not going to be an exact straight line, but anyway, this is something that is a high priority for the city, but this needs to be tackled by UDOT. This is a big project, and this isn't a UDOT project with their roadway. So that's something that the city can continue to coordinate with them on and kind of push forward to see that in the future. You'll notice a handful of other projects here, different connections for regional connectivity and things like that, and local connectivity. You'll see some future widening on 89 out into the future. So as I come down here to intersection projects, similar. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom in. Okay, so we've got a couple of roundabout projects, which I don't know why I'm not seeing those.
Oh,
Okay, no, we're good.
You gotta walk and chew gum at the same time.
I know, you guys are really testing me. So each of these, like I said, the projects are listed on here. You can click on them. It gives you information about what they are, what it includes. Many of them have a concept layout for them. So like these roundabouts has a concept that you can click and open and take a look at them. Cost estimates, things like that. And a lot of that information is also included in these tables. So we've got that there. And then, of course, the sidewalk projects. So this is kind of filling in a lot of those gaps. We prioritize these based on feedback from the community, from connections to schools and parks and some of those key destinations throughout the city. And so those are prioritized, again, high, medium, and low. We have a safety section here where we looked at all the crashes over the last 5 to 6 years through the city. We can look specifically at just the fatal or severe injury crashes by clicking this tab, or we can look at all crashes throughout the city. You can also see some of the crash trends here, kind of up and down over the last 6 years or so. Severe crashes are quite a bit lower, but last year we had a little bit higher trend there. So that's one of the things that we look at, and then based on this analysis, we developed a set of safety recommendations for the city. And so each of those are listed here. You can click on them and kind of zoom in for some more detail on each of those. And again, for sake of time, I'm not going to go through all those, but I think there's some really good data analysis and recommendations in here. All right. We also looked a lot at connectivity. Connectivity is a major part of transportation, not just for roadways, but for pedestrians and cyclists and other modes of transportation. A lot of these, so some of the key ones we included in the project list. Others are just shown as potential connections in the future if and when their development occurs, or if property sold or something and there's an opportunity to do that. But they're not critical enough to be in the project list, but just opportunities to identify there. There's also a section here on the legislative bill 195. This is required by the state now as of last year, and we report this to MAG, who then reports that to the state. And what it does is it identifies those key regional connections that have significant barriers that are probably more than what the city can do on their own, right? But they're really important to the transportation system. So we've already talked about one of those, which is that 1600 North connection over to the new interchange, right? We've got a couple others here. This one, I think Rob will talk a little bit more, a connection, out to Spanish Fork. with the Maple Street extension, and then another here with the railroad for pedestrian crossings. Both of these are pretty significant. They both have railroads to deal with. Some have, wetlands and other things, and so we wanted to identify those as these are key things that have some key issues that may need outside help to accomplish. Okay. All right. I want to talk briefly about public engagement. I think we had a really great public engagement process. We've been to City Council. We've been to Planning Commission. We had a booth out at Mapleton Pioneer Days and talked to a lot of the residents and had booth there and maps and questions and things that they could participate in, which was really great. And we had a lot of good feedback there. We had our open house, had good attendance there with all this information on large billboard style things that we could share with the community. One thing that's not listed here is we had our online survey as well that we put out, and that was, we came to the City Council and kind of went through those questions and then sent that out to the community and got really good participation there, and that's all summarized in the Transportation Master Plan. So we felt like we had really good feedback and public participation throughout the process, and so that's all summarized in there as well. And you can kind of see here, this is a visual preference survey that was done at the booth.
That booth was great. It was great participation.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. We had a lot of good people there, and that worked really well. And then this last one is just kind of an interactive map where you can turn on different layers and look, hey, what does the roadway network look like with the intersections or with the crashes or different things? So there's a bunch of different GIS layers on here that you can turn on and off and look closer at. So that's open for the public. So there's a lot of good information in here. There's a lot of good analysis, good recommendations for projects. And I know that we don't have a ton of time to go through it all, so I want to be cognizant. So I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions, and then I'll turn it to Rob to go through some specifics. So any questions for me?
I have one question, and this is related to, I couldn't get into the map close enough, and the question is down in your neighborhood, the Everett property. I know this was a topic from several neighbors at the open house. Can you, Rob, are you familiar with the neighborhood I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Everett's property that is not developed yet?
And you're talking, that is the one where 2400 South would connect
To 800
east
West.
over to 800 West, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the questions at the open house was discussed by the Hansons and many others, that road that connects from 8th West over to the highway. I want to make sure that that's, Casey, can you orient on that map better than I can, or quicker than I can? I don't see it, is it?
Yeah, 2600
just
South
straight?
connects right now. Yeah. Is that what you're asking? 2600 South connects
Yeah,
all the way
you know
over
what
to
I'm
800
talking
West.
about, don't you?
Yeah, for 2400 South, and so it goes into Spanish Fork.
But it goes, right there, it's straight, right? That would,
It stops halfway right now. So what we see right there is how it is.
okay, so my question is simply regarding future roads. When the Everett's is developed, the question is, there was a road proposed that would connect straight through. The question is having that road curve so it doesn't turn into a speedway.
So,
So my question is that something we need to have here on the master plan, or is that addressed at the time of plat, or of application?
really, the exact way that that's going to connect really depends on what the proposal is of what they're wanting to, that remaining land is wanting to develop.
Time of application, then?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we do show it kind of curving around to the south and connecting, I think, to, and I'm trying to remember, is that Triple Crown Drive? It's in the Triple Crown area. Is that how it's going to connect? It kind of depends on how, like I said, what's proposed, how the lots could lay out
Yeah,
with
okay.
how the road
I just
lays
would,
out. So
I know
it's
that
not
that's a
exact.
concern by that neighborhood, by several in the neighborhood, so I want to punctuate that conversation also. So if it's not here, it comes at the time of application,
Yeah.
so.
The way that the other thing that I would say is the way that our code talks about connections, not that I remember the exact wording, but that's the gist of it, is that what we show on the plan is this is kind of what we're looking for, but
Yeah, that's fair.
it will be determined, you know, when the development comes in and see how it all can work out with the layout, so.
Just looking at in the packet, the roadway projects, Table 5, the cost estimate for the 1600 North extension to State Street is significantly more expensive than the others. I'm just curious why it's that much more expensive. We're looking at 100,000, the next closest is, well, I guess there's a 147,000 project, but that's, not as high of a
It's
priority.
100 million.
Right, sorry, 100 million,
It's,
that's, yeah.
it's a major UDOT project, and there's a couple reasons for that. Right now, there's currently 2 railroads in the way. That will be consolidated down to 1
Yeah.
in the future, but that would entail a bridge over the railroad, because they don't want a big arterial like that on a crossing at a railroad, right? So that bridge alone is millions and millions of dollars, right? And then there's homes in the way that or the right-of-way that would need to be purchased, things like that. There's some significant grade changes. With this would be a UDOT project. There would be an environmental study that would need to be done. This is not just a small, like, city roadway project. This is a major thing, so that's why.
And that speaks to the larger thing too. There's several of these projects on here that we show because they are important for Mapleton. That doesn't mean that the cost is Mapleton. So some of these really should be 0% of the cost is Mapleton's cost. And there's other ones where we'd probably be contributing a minor portion to the overall project. That's one of them where, especially where it's through Springville, it connects at our border, but it goes through Springville, and it really is a big enough project to where that's definitely going to be a state-run project. I don't anticipate, if there's anything, it would be a little bit maybe at the intersection. I don't even know if we'd need to contribute even that much. We won't know until the end, but it will be a very minor portion of the overall project.
Yeah, and we've tried to outline that in this table, which I know is hard to read, but it does say responsible.
Right.
Yeah, and so there's UDOT and others that are listed there. So, yeah, just like Rob said, that'll be primarily state-funded.
Any more questions?
If not, we'll turn it over to Rob, and I know you had some things you wanted to talk through.
Yeah, there were, really, I wanted to speak to the Maple Street extension, which we touched on. I think we came in October and touched on it. Just with it being the most expensive, where Mapleton is at least somewhat, some of the expenses would come from us. And I'll speak to where, kind of a general standpoint of where I think that can go. But it being one of the more difficult in terms of homes that would need to be purchased through a wetland area, crossing over a railroad, and then the highest cost where we at least would have some portion of bear some responsibility, I guess, for those costs. I just wanted to speak to that one specifically. So I put together kind of a breakdown, and we had showed it as one project. That's what it had been shown in the 2010 Transportation Master Plan, Mapleton's Transportation Master Plan. It's also been shown in Springville's as it connecting over, so that we have a kind of a joint. We're showing the same thing. So it's been shown since 2010, but we split this one up into kind of 2 sub-projects. The one going from, connecting from west of Doubleday over into Springville and then Spanish Fork, and then the connection over to, from US 89 to Doubleday, because they each have their own kind of, their own challenges, and could potentially, I guess, in the future, have their own set of what we could get MAG to participate in. Versus what we may need to put a little bit more catch up ourselves or responsibility ourselves. So the one going from, in terms of from Doubleday to connecting west into Springville. So we also show, again, we show the 1600 North connection, and there obviously already is a connection on Slant Road into Spanish Fork Parkway. But we did some modeling. I asked WCG to look specifically, not just a build, no build, but a no build versus build everything besides Maple Street. And it still showed that, the existing connection from Slant Road into Spanish Fork Parkway would fail. And it shows several thousand cars a day on Evergreen Road into Springville. And so we show failure if we don't continue that connection. It estimates, the modeling estimates about 8,000 cars a day would be on that. Let's see. So it requires a railroad crossing. So in terms of a timing standpoint, we would need to wait until the Provost sub consolidation is at least designed and close to construction. We may be able to kind of coincide if that's how we go about it. In fact, in terms of timing, the feedback that we've gotten is it could be, I mean, best case scenario, that sub consolidation happens in 5 years, probably not as low as 5 years, more likely somewhere in the 7 to 10 year range, based off of our last meeting. And this shows that if we don't make that connection, then existing connections on either side of it fail within 10 years. And so I think that we would want to kind of line those up to try to happen at the same time. So it does go through, connect through the future Sunrise Ranch Park property. And then where this particular cost is mostly, it does include from where we currently end to our border at the railroad, but then the majority of the costs, again, we show the entire project because we show kind of how it would connect through and why this connection is important. But most of those costs would be at least through the county, Springville and Spanish Fork, because that's where it is. But this one is something that I feel strongly that I've already been in coordination as MAG does their regional transportation plan update to make sure they include this on there. They show it as an important connection for in their grid analysis. It has not been shown though to date in the regional transportation plan. If it's important regionally, I feel like they need to show it on the regional transportation plan and recognize that there's regional funds that need to go towards this project. And so we're pushing to do that. They're going through an update this year, and so I'm pushing to have them include that on there. I think this one is pretty straightforward, where it's connecting through, this road would connect through 3 different cities and at least what's currently the county. I think it's part of Springville's annexation area. But where it's connecting through multiple cities, it seems pretty straightforward that this should be on the regional transportation plan, and then would be very likely to get regional funding. Project 5.2, which is what we split out for the connecting from Doubleday East over into US 89. The model shows or approximates 4,000 cars a day would be used on this stretch of the road. If we don't construct that, those 4,000 cars would show up mostly on Doubleday and Sunrise Ranch, trying to find an alternate route to get out. Some of those additional ones then again go down Evergreen Road, which was not, that is not planned to carry anywhere near as much traffic as it shows that it will carry if we don't do this project. Again, this project has been shown on our plans, and our neighbors have also been using that to guide their plans for the last 15 years. Let's see, I've got my notes, so as I already said, I'm working with MAG to try to get that on the plan. So the challenges are, it would require us to purchase and demolish 2 homes to be able to straighten this project that are on kind of the curve where it turns from Maple Street into Slant Road. So it would require the purchase and demolition of 2 existing homes, realignment of Maple Street and the Slant Road intersection. There's some topographic and wetland challenges as we go through Dry Creek Hollow. And then we would also have to amend a conservation easement that was done with the South Hollow subdivision to kind of make it a more compact area in that loop. They dedicated some land that was supposed to remain open, and we'd have to redo that. That was per our agreement with them, and we'd have to do away with the conservation easement to be able to build a road on it, or at least a portion where the road is needed, have it remain on the remainder of that property. So it's not without challenges, and it does come with a 7.2 estimated cost. Again, I think that I could get this on the MAG plan, and I'm hoping that everybody would see the need for this in the region and see that this is a regional need for us to be able to connect and us to not pass our failures onto our surrounding cities, our neighboring cities, or road failures onto them. So I think this is a good one that should get MAG funding, but it comes with challenges. So I just wanted to, I mean, I'm still recommending it, obviously, but just wanted to talk through. It does not come without challenges. I just wanted to
Hey, Rob,
recognize that.
I'm curious to know, with some of these regional roads, like the 5.1 extension, it's a project cost of $19 million, an estimated cost of basically $20 million. What's a fair estimate? How much of that would MAG potentially cover?
So they will cover, they can cover, the minimum that is a local match is 6.8%. So I'd have to do the math, but out of that 19 million, that's maybe one and a half,
Oh,
is
yeah.
that somewhere in that
Okay,
range? But again, most of that would be coming from, that's if that entire project was to be built by MAG. Now, some of that project extends west. It kind of depends on how fast development does. I mean, that's development's going to be built on either side of that, so I would assume some of that 19 is going to be built by development. Ours, the development already has happened around it, and so we,
But the bottom line would be our portion of that total cost is relatively small in comparison.
yeah, so ours would be, I would say, I think we could get that funded with the minimum 6.77% or 6.67%. And that's just of what's on our side, which is probably, I mean, less than
Small, yeah.
yeah, less than $1 million.
That's helpful, thank you.
20 million times 6.8 is 1.36.
Okay, thank you.
1.36, yeah.
That-
So
that hel-
so again,
helps
that
me with a
1.36
gauge,
is
yeah.
an ours. That's, that one, most of that 1.36 even is county,
Yeah,
you know.
that's
Ours
just a
is
helpful
smaller.
gauge, I appreciate that, thank you. I know,
Well, so, and I'm sorry, I'm maybe,
Yeah,
We
yeah,
do,
we're going to
yeah.
open it up to
We open
public
it up,
comment here in a
yeah.
minute. Sorry.
Rob, you mentioned if the connection to Maple Street isn't made, that there'd be failure at Slant Road and Spanish Fork Parkway. You mentioned that it would cause 7,000, I think the traffic count was 7,000 on Evergreen Road.
Yep.
Is that the 1600 North extension, or what?
you know, Evergreen Road, even if we do the 1600 North extension, enough people want to go in between there, and with Slant Road failing, it still shows to be able to kind of get out that direction. They'd still be going down Evergreen Road. So yeah, Evergreen Road is a crossing west of the Springville's cemetery, in between where the 1600 North extension would be and where we're proposing the Maple Street.
Okay, so even with the 1600 North and the connection not made to Maple Street, it would still cause havoc basically on those two,
Yeah.
those roads.
7,000, and maybe to be more specific, 7,000 if none of them are built, and I think it was, I'd have to look back, I'm sorry, I think it's between 5,000 and 6,000 if 1600 North is built, but not Maple Street. Which is still, I mean, 5,000 to 6,000 is as high as, I think higher than anything that we've got in Mapleton right now, and we'd be sending it down one of their local streets.
If I could just speak briefly on that. One thing with the transportation network is you really want to have a good grid and give people options. And you have that really well in the city of Mapleton, right? And Spanish Fork has a pretty good grid on their side. But there's these two railroads in between, and that has really limited the number of connections that you have in between. And rightly so, right? You can't have a lot of at-grade crossings on all these railroad tracks. And so as development has happened, that's really limited those. So there's not that many places to get from Mapleton to Spanish Fork, right? Or towards Springville. And so without one like this, everything gets pushed to these other ones like Evergreen, which was never meant to carry that much traffic, but it just so happens to have an at-grade railroad crossing and you can get through, right? So anyway, that's why you need these. And if only we had a better grid through here, it wouldn't be a big deal. But because those connections are so limited, that's where we see the pressure.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to clarify, if those two connections, or if the 1600 North connection was made but not the other, what would happen, but you answered that. And then, I don't know if anyone else has questions on this specifically, but I was just going to, I don't know if you can just give some context on how master transportation plans are generally used, how it steers development going forward, and, you know, none of us were in council in 2010 I think when the last one was made, and so if you can just give some background or context on that generally, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, so we take a look at all the land uses, the proposed land uses, and sometimes there's some back and forth. I think there was some back and forth on the 2010, it appears to me, in terms of, okay, if we can build this grid network, then here's the land uses that would make sense in these areas. At this point, we have, I mean, a lot of the major areas, I guess the major open areas in Mapleton have been master planned out and are largely developed, and some of them are still developing. And so at this point, the land use is basically set. And we have to take a look at that and say, okay, here's what the plan was. Is there any changes that we need to make? And in terms of the way that we're doing the grid, there's really not. We confirm, well, like we've updated the modeling and said, okay, are all these projects that were shown on the 2010 master plan, what does a new modeling show? And especially, I guess, where in connection to Maple Street, it says the modeling shows, yep, you really do need this connection, or else other things fail. Where I think the update has happened is more taking a look. We've done a finer tune analysis, I think, of especially looking at the intersection analysis, doing a plan for sidewalks. So it's not just an overall grid, which I think the 2010 did, and we were modeling just to make sure, are there any changes, or what does that mean in terms of projects for us? But what we also took a look at, like I said, is where do we need to build out intersection improvements to keep it safe with all these with all this development that's happening in. What sidewalk projects are needed the most? I mean, there's a lot of sidewalk needs around the city, which, you know, trying to take a look at it and say, okay, considering all these factors, what do we think is the highest priority? So there is some back and forth with how much Mapleton is built out now, here in 2026 now. It's kind of just taking a look and saying, okay, based off of, there was a plan, then that helped, you know, inform land use. Now we've got the land use, let's recheck the plan. That's how they work hand in hand.
I think it's a fair question, because in particular, specific to the two homes that need to be taken out, I know at least one, probably both, are relatively new homes that have been built since before our time.
Yeah.
But the transportation master plan was in place at the time those two were built. And so I think it's a very fair question, or at
So,
least one of them, at least one of them.
yeah.
One of
So one of
them,
them,
yeah.
one of them predated, and one of them, and I know that was a question, because I've talked to the homeowners, and I wasn't here when they got their building permit. I don't know how to answer that. I know that I've had a lot of conversations on other projects where we have projects proposed, and we definitely let them know how that was missed.
Yeah, that's something that none of us can
don't
comment
know.
on, we weren't there, but it's a fair question in regards to that, so, yeah.
Well, and the way I see it with the transportation plan, right, we're trying to plan for the city, right? And so with a lot of growth that's happened, we didn't vote for that growth, but we have to adapt to it. And so the master transportation plan shows us the best way to adapt to that so that there aren't bottlenecks and failures on our roads.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Rob for discussion before we open it up?
One quick question, just as a side note, the sidewalk priority list, is that reflective of the one we've done internally, or were there any major changes to that priority list based on what has been done previously internally?
So we took a look at the prioritization on there also.
Yeah, I've seen it, I was just wondering how much it changed from what we've already been working off of.
Yeah, I should have probably gotten the exact numbers. Some things have changed in terms of when that was built versus where we see development coming in the last few years, and does that change where we think some of those? So we use a lot of the same factors, I guess I would say, but based off of those factors, some of the way that we're proposing to do it has changed, and I'm
Just
sorry,
curious.
I don't
I was
have
just
an
seeing.
exact number of
That's fine, I'm just
what
curious.
changed or not.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a public hearing item, and so we will open it up to public hearing. I just want to note for the record that we have received several emails from a lot of residents, and including some printouts, including for and against state or stances, including several sheets of petition signatures. I'm counting 32. Is that what you guys counted, 32 total signatures on this document that was handed to us? What we want to do is we want to invite anybody and everybody that wants to speak to this item to have a chance to come up and speak. Given that, though, and that it's a public meeting, we would just ask that everybody be cognizant of your time. Try to keep it to around 3 minutes or less. And if somebody's already spoken and said something, try not to just repeat that same exact thing so that we're not being redundant all night long. So at that, we will open it up to public comment and allow you to come up to the mic. When you come up to the mic, because this is a public meeting and we're recording, we need you to state your name and then go ahead and give your comment. So go ahead.
A suggestion, how about the people that are having their homes demolished speak first?
Just go down the list.
That's totally fine. Yeah, we want to allow everybody a chance to speak who wants to speak.
I spoke to you guys a week ago or so. I'm
Yes.
Jean Marie Anderson. I was
Welcome back in person.
doing city council. I'm just going to read a little letter I sent to Sean and Melanie. I'm having my home demolished, I guess, maybe, possibly. I've been in Mapleton for 20 years. My home was built about 19 years ago. I'm standing before you. I've lived here for about 20 years. My husband is buried here in the Mapleton City Cemetery. I've taught at Mapleton Elementary and Maple Ridge. I work for Nebo School District. I have a basement apartment that I don't know that you could quite equally pay me for and compensate me for because it was my retirement. I don't know how you could give me fair market value for that. I dearly love this community. I'll try not to cry. I've taught most of the kids here in this area. I've watched them grow up, have babies, and my home is more than fair market value to me. It is my community, and I love it here, and it's my memories. This is hard for me to hear this. I was raised by a state senator, a public administrator who taught at BYU, and I understand what you're talking about. So, Rob, I get it. I get it. I'm trying not to cry. But this is more than fair market value to me. You have to understand that. I would urge you to vote against this somehow or try to find a different route. I don't know how you're going to do it. After listening to you, I don't know what to say. This is all I have to say. This is really hard for me.
Thank you.
You want me to read it? Yeah, go ahead. My name is Jen Stubbs.
Jan Stubbs, thank you.
This is hard, really, really hard. We came and met with you. When we first heard about it, we were told 20, 30 years. Mind you, we've been in our home for 4 years this February. We were never told when we were when we were buying the building permit that this was even a thing. So, my heart is broken. We've lived at 60 South Slant Road for the past 4 years now. In that time, this property has become so much more than a place to live. It is our home, our sanctuary, and the foundation of our family's life. We also operate a small farm here, and our animals are not just livestock, they are part of our family. Each one depends on us for care, safety, and stability. The thought of losing our home means also uprooting them, disrupting their routines, and placing them in an uncertain future. This is heartbreaking to even imagine. We chose this land intentionally. We invested our savings, our time, and our hearts into building a peaceful life here. Every fence, shelter, and improvement was made with love and long-term commitment. The farm represents early mornings, late nights, and countless memories with our children and animals. The proposed road would not only take our home, but permanently change the character of our neighborhood. What once was quiet and rural will become loud, busy, and unsafe. Families who built their lives here did so believing this community would remain a place of peace and not a traffic corridor. I respectfully ask you to consider what this truly means for us and our neighbors. Losing a home is not just losing a structure, it is losing security, history, and a sense of belonging. I ask you, from one human to another, please explore alternative routes that would protect our homes, our farms, and our community. Growth should never come at the cost of destroying families and the places they love. We are not numbers on a map, we are people with deep roots here. Thank you for hearing our voice and for your service to our community. I am open to any discussion and truly hope our concerns will be taken to heart. Our land was never offered for sale. So, I mean,
I'm John Stubbs. So if you guys change the zoning to put the road through, can you change all of ours? Not just what you guys want?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, there's 20 acres there, and you guys only want, what'd you say, 7?
I think he's
acres?
referring to the conservation easement.
Yeah.
Oh, all
Can we
behind
lift
that.
the whole thing if we're gonna lift some of it?
I would say that's not a decision from Public Works Director to make.
Yeah, it's a secondary item that's not considered in the transportation plan, but
Right.
we would have to consider that as a separate agenda item, yeah, for sure.
And the other thing, instead of just taking a sliver of the property, take it all. Let us relocate. I cannot build what we've built here for the cost of what you guys will give us for part of the property. I need to sell it all,
That makes sense.
so. And then when the road goes through, does all our neighbors get a 10-foot block wall behind them? So that's what they're looking at now? Could we put one in your backyard, 10-foot block wall?
So,
Well,
so
if you're
the-
asking that's not part of the plan, no.
No,
Would not
no.
be to put a
I
10-foot block
didn't-
wall.
I didn't think so.
So they're gonna look at a busy road in their backyard now?
That's what you're pushing for, right? You want it done within a timely manner?
Well, what the modeling estimates is that based off of the traffic that Mapleton will be generating is that if we don't build another road, then the existing roads that we have will fail.
Right. No, I understand.
So the scope of what we're covering today doesn't cover those details, which would need to be covered. If this happens, then those details would be worked out amongst staff and the design review committee and each homeowner. Those specifics, I understand, are emotional and very, very close to your guys' lives. But tonight, what we're trying to cover is just the general transportation plan as a whole, which very much is related to you guys specifically. We understand that, but
Right. And it really puts us in limbo because we've wanted to finish our basement. There's still a few more sheds that need to be built, but why dump that money into it just to
Yeah.
get knocked down?
which is really the reason why we need to make a decision on this transportation
Yeah.
plan and then lock it in, because not just is it affecting you guys in your future, and Gina Marie and her family's future, but there's also other land that's west of you guys that's some of it's tied up in conservation, some of it's wetlands, but there's also some developable land there that could potentially be developed. But if this goes through, then they can't develop. And so,
Right.
so it's prudent on us as city planners to make a decision whether the road's going to go in or not, and then work with all the property owners after that on the details, because they and you guys need to be able to plan for that. And so
Yes.
that's really what we're trying to do tonight, is just to say, hey, this is the proposed plan based on our professional analysis and our regional application. So tonight is the discussion about it, and then potential discussion afterwards with the council members, and then a decision will be made. tonight, whether that's tonight or a future meeting, the decision needs to be made whether we adopt it as it's been presented tonight, or if we want to go back to the table and make some adjustments. So we understand that this very much focuses right in on your guys' lives, but the details of how it would go down if the road went through would all happen at a later date. So we don't have the answers that I know you guys are searching for at this time.
So when will the next meeting be?
Well, we don't know. We need to be able to listen to everybody's perspective, and then we're going to close public comment, and then the council will deliberate, and then they will discuss what our next steps are.
Okay, I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Okay, thank you, John. Appreciate it.
I'm Gary Eddington, and my property backs onto the area we're talking about right now. And as I've been looking at that, when if the road were to come through and go through the western part of Maple Street, you're going through a neighborhood that, as I look at it, I don't know what kind of traffic you're planning to put on that. I hope there's no dump trucks and those kind of things going through that neighborhood, because you've got 72 four-unit family, 18 buildings with 4 units in it that come onto that street. You've got about 20 homes that face directly on the street. They're relatively smaller lots. The driveways are very short. So the cars, if you have a Suburban, if you park in the driveway, it's going to hang over the sidewalk. Got a lot of little kids there. And in my mind, the benefit to that neighborhood, getting the traffic off of Doubleday and Sunrise Ranch Drive, most of us in that neighborhood have very little reason to come east. There's nothing over here we really need to come to every day. But going west, or when you get west, you can go north or south then, you get down on 51. That section you've been talking about, I think, has some value to that neighborhood, being able to go where they need to go without having to go onto Slant Road or 89 or end up on Evergreen. It would get them directly where they need to go. So I see a benefit for that section. But the section from Slant Road intersection with Maple Street over by 89 over to Doubleday, I don't really see the real value in that from our neighborhood point of view. Now, if it's somebody over on the east side that's looking for a quick way to the freeway, that would be a possibility, but it has very little benefit for the people that would be impacted by that situation. And then the last point I want to make is I was raised in southeastern Montana. I know what a farmyard should look like, and these people have one of the most immaculate farmyards you have ever seen. They are very good stewards of that area, and what they've done in the back area there. My grandkids can't go sled riding down the hill anymore. Of course, there's no snow, so who cares about that? But they've done a very good job of taking care of the area. And it is one of the few open spaces that we have on the west side of Mapleton. And I know Mapleton's very proud of their open spaces. But if you take that out, their Clydesdale Larry won't have any place to roam. And the hawks that sit up on the power pole looking for the voles, which they keep them out of my backyard, that will all disappear if you put that through. And if you're taking 7.5 acres along the wetlands, they only have 19. That leaves them with 12. And if they were to rebuild their property up on the south end, they're going to end up with 8 or 9 acres, and that's just not going to be, I don't think, what they're looking forward to. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Oh, good evening. I have been dreaming about this for a few days.
Could you
It's been
say
really
your
on
name
my
for
mind.
us?
Yes, sorry. I am Tyler Peterson. I am a resident of Maple Street. In fact, the very first. And there are 21 homes there, and all of us are a little concerned about the Maple Street project. Not that we're against future traffic planning, because we aren't. We're not against trying to create accessibility in the neighborhoods and relieving some of these future tension points. What we are against is putting a center turn lane and designating this road as a major collector. We think that presents a couple of challenges for this neighborhood, which is really child-dense, very residential. It seems a little incongruent to put a major regional thoroughfare through a neighborhood that is as residential as ours. Let me quickly just share 4 details. A lot of there's a little more detail in the packets that we provided, but here's 4 numbers I just want to quickly cover. 36, that's the amount of kids that live in these 21 homes. Most of these children are under the age of 7. They love to play in the road. They love to go back and forth among houses. This doesn't consider any of the connecting streets or townhomes, which also have a large number of young families and children. There's a park right there as well. And so this is a highly friendly area for families to move and be located. And by creating a major collector right through the middle of that, we're worried that this will create some safety issues and some fatal accidents potentially that we also want to avoid. Second number I have is 1.75 million. That's just a conservative rough estimate for how much equity might be lost by the 21 homeowners there on Maple Street. I think reference was made that we should maybe hinted at that we should have known when we bought the property. I think the market value didn't reflect this future plan. It doesn't right now. And I think there are ways that we can preserve that wealth and that financial security that these families are planning on and have. Third number or third fact is second to last and last. You know, we love that the city has had surveys and sought public comment, but that is where those residents who participated in those surveys ranked road connectivity among other transportation issues. So ranking this as a high priority project, I get for the future of traffic, but I don't really understand that from a perspective of doing what the residents want. And maybe those other high priority issues will be addressed with city budget before this. I don't know what the timing is, but again, that comes off as a little incongruent. The fact that we have, here's the last point, we have 100% of residents along Maple Street who offered to sign this petition saying they oppose this plan. I think it's rare today in politics where there is such unity in a position, and I hope that's not something that's taken lightly. We have a great community and a great neighborhood, and we hope to preserve that. And so I thank you for your time and ask you to consider possibly working with us for some alternatives, one of which could be still connecting Maple Street West, but going straight to the closest road that already exists and does connect down to SR 51, and stopping it there, not going further into Spanish Fork, which I think would create a little bit more activity on that road. So we're definitely open to other alternatives, and just wanted to state those things here for you tonight. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Tyler.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Butler. I'm from the South Hollow subdivision. I just have a few questions for you about the road. We've had a 99-year easement around our whole neighborhood, and I'm just wondering how that can be taken away when it's in my contract of my house, if you put that road through. It states that you can't have a permanent structure on there. A road is a permanent structure. I've lived there for 25 years. We have about 74 years left on that easement, on that conservation. It goes all the way around our subdivision. The Stubbs have taken really good care of the property around there, and we were worried about the easement when they moved in, and they assured us that that's not going away, that they want it there. They've been excellent neighbors and stuff. We were really worried when we were getting cows behind our house, that it'd be really bad. I'd rather have cows than a huge road behind my house. I have little grandkids that play in my backyard. I don't want a busy road behind my yard. My kids are all grown up, but I do have grandkids that play there. And I don't want a busy road behind my house. Another thing is, what do you mean by saying a road fails? How does a road fail?
It's measured by excessive delays. basically, it's standstill traffic.
But still, I mean, there's other routes.
The term is used by traffic studies to determine reasonable traffic flows. And so if you say 430 on 4 South in Springville would be defined as that road is failing. Does that make sense? It's just a gridlock, kind of a
Okay.
failure.
Okay, but we have the road that goes from, what is that subdivision called? The Sunrise Ranch. That road that goes down through there and it goes right out to the highway, that's an alternative road. Why do we need the road behind my house when that road is already there? We could put a light in right there, and that would solve the problem of the traffic flow through there. We wouldn't have to connect the road
You're talking
to
about
Maple
the
Street.
one that goes by the Evergreen Cemetery?
No,
No, Sunrise Ranch
Sunrise
Drive.
Ranch.
Sunrise Ranch Drive.
Sunrise Ranch Drive, it
By the
goes, like,
church?
there's a big
Turn at the
hill.
church, and it goes
the
all the way
church.
Yeah,
around.
by the church on the
Right.
highway.
Well, I'm
So
trying
that
I'm
road
trying to
right
envision
there.
Where that one would go down to the highway.
It connects right to the highway. It's right by the church.
It connects on the north
Oh, I-
end.
You're
of
saying
the
Highway 89.
Sorry, I thought you were
Highway
talking-
89.
I thought you were talking about Highway 51,
No,
sorry.
Highway 89 connects right there. So I don't see how putting a road behind my house, I mean, that road could be used for it. And if we put a light in there, and why can't they widen Evergreen, the Evergreen Cemetery Road? Because they're putting a light in by Fizz, right there. That road would connect right to that and go right there. So I don't see the need for the road behind our homes. And we weren't told, I mean, we knew there was a road on the plan, and we found that out when we did our referendum and stuff, but the Stubbs weren't told. Why did the city give them a building permit if you knew a road was coming in? That's not fair to them, to not know about a road that was going to go through their whole property. And they do own it all the way around our subdivision. And I agree with John. You're going to have to pay for the whole thing, because he's not going to just go for you buying just part of his property, and that's going to be expensive to do that. So, and we're 100% against the road. All of us here are 100% against that road behind our house. Our subdivision's quiet. We fought to not have a road during our referendum that we did, not to have a road going through the middle of our subdivision. We had people mad at us for that, but we don't want a busy road going behind our house. And I hope you consider the homes that will be taken away too. Jean Marie's home, I mean, she's a widow. Her husband passed away not very long ago. And she has built her home there, and she did put an apartment in there and is trying to make ends meet with that. And so that's not fair to her either, to lose her livelihood stuff either. So I'm just grateful that you guys are listening to us, and hopefully you consider that, and consider other routes that I mentioned and stuff. So thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Mike Eskridge, also a South Hollow neighborhood. This road would come right against the back of my house, and looking at your lines, it takes a little bit of my backyard away. My wife and I moved there a little over 4 years ago. We bought that house because of that space behind it and the view that's there. It was a very competitive market at that time, so we had to pay a little bit over. We'd already lost 3 other houses to being outbid by other people. So we offered over asking price to get this house based on that space behind it and the animal rights and the lot that's there. This road not only connects to some end out in Spanish Fork that I don't understand, right? When you could connect Evergreen, we say that Evergreen's going to fail, or Evergreen's not built for it. If you look at where Evergreen ends, and to connect it where you want to connect to Maple Street, there's nothing. There is no house to tear down. There is no building to turn down. You can widen Evergreen that already has a railroad crossing, that's already had the EPA study done, to connect 51 and 89, and you don't have to tear anybody's house down, especially somebody who just built one and got a permit for it from this city. And to the gentleman who said he has signatures, come to our neighborhood. Come to South Hollow. We'll add another 40, 50 signatures to that because you didn't come through our neighborhood on this petition. And we'd all be very happy to sign it. So we can add to that. And to the gentleman who mentioned the hawk, I don't know, right there. I look out my bedroom window to where this road would be every day. Okay, and there's more than hawks. Okay, the sand cranes, they migrate to that space every year. I see them in the morning. I've seen fox, I've seen elk, I've seen deer. I've had a boreal Utah toad in my backyard from that space. And this road would be not advantageous to any of those animals. Plus, it would be dangerous because there are deer that come through there on a regular basis. This road is connecting two very sensitive neighborhood spaces. So Maple Street, which is very dense with children, and then the South Hollow neighborhood. You can come over there any day and you can see children out in those fields. John and Jen own it, but they let us all still use it. We go out there, we walk our dogs, our children ride their bicycles. They go to the park that this road is going to go right through. So this permit was given for a house, and then a year or two later, a permit for a ton of townhouses on the other side. And now you want to put a road between the two. It makes no sense to me. Because that road's going to go through a dense neighborhood backside where ours is, with no abatement for the noise or the traffic. It's a danger to the children in our neighborhood. They can no longer play out there because this blocks that neighborhood from that space. It's an endangerment to all the wildlife that's there. It's an encroachment and an outright takeover of the easement and the conservation that's been put there. And it's an endangerment to the children who play in those townhomes and the very large park that has pickleball courts, a huge playground, and kids riding around, running around all over the place. And I still don't understand when we talk about Evergreen is not made for that. Evergreen already connects. Make Evergreen wider and connect it to 89. You don't have to pay for a house. It's 1/100th of the price, even at 6.8%. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Russell. I live on the opposite side of these fine people. We live in the Holly subdivision that's on the north side of where this road would butt up against our neighbors and backyards. And I just want to add, I apologize that we missed, being asked or that we missed an email, but I don't remember ever being surveyed or asked for my opinion. I can get a petition with another 50-plus signatures from that entire Holly subdivision saying that we are adamantly against this road. We can add another 28 children who in 8 homes play along in those fields every single day. The reason we moved here was for that small town feel. It was not to have a major thoroughfare in our backyard where we're going to have the noise and the unsafe conditions for our kids. And not to repeat anything, but I just ditto to everything that's been said already. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay.
I'm Christy Anderson, and I came tonight just with the thought of getting more knowledge about what was happening. We just barely found out about the road. We live in the Holly subdivision as well. We're the second house in, so where Slant Road would meet the new road, I guess, where it would tee is our backyard, which would mean all these headlights in our big, giant, beautiful windows that we built to see the big, beautiful mountains in beautiful Mapleton, the small town. We would have to close them all day, every day, which is such a minor problem when I'm thinking of the 2 people behind us that would lose their home completely. We have the ability to close curtains. They don't have the ability to just pick up their lives and leave. Mostly, I read the entire 242-page transportation commentary, all of it, and there's no other mention of another way. Like, is there genuinely no other way ever even possible? Like, this is the only solution to the failure of the roads.
So that's the reason why we hire a third-party firm, so that they will do the most thorough professional job. And that's what they've determined.
But this is the only.
This is the best alternate, or this is the best option for draining traffic if that's what we decide to do.
So I guess my real, like, sincere heart of questions for the person that just will continue to read that 242-page document over and over till I've researched the death out of it. Does what we say tonight have any basis? Like, we want to come to this meeting feeling like we're heard and not just validated, but genuinely heard, and our concerns are met and the other options are possibly looked at. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Dr. Michael Brunson. I'm a psychologist. I live in this neighborhood. I have a practice in Springville in this area. I want to just say a few brief things. You know, I have been here for 9 years. I married a woman, and she's been in that original house since it was built by Salisbury. We live just down from the houses that are going to be destroyed, and that natural area in the back there that's clearly going to be negatively impacted. You know, I know that Mapleton prides itself on its community feel and open space, and this is one of the few remaining, really, a good area of natural space that's already been impacted much more than I thought it was going to be when I first moved in there 9 years ago. But I just want to encourage y'all to try to listen to these folks that are presenting tonight, because maintaining natural space is so important. And you guys have probably read this, heard this, for folks' mental health, right? And I'm not talking as a professional here, just as a person, but green space, open area, not a big new road that's going through and taking houses out of there and adding traffic to that specific neighborhood, and several neighborhoods, it seems. You know, that's just not the best idea for humans, and we are humans here. We don't exist to build more roads, to have more cars, because there's going to be more cars in the future, okay? We need to figure out some healthier options for ourselves, or we're going to be negatively impacted as time goes on, as we are being. So please listen to people here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Hey, my name's Landon Stott. I live on Santa Fe Drive, which is just south of the road that's being proposed. We've lived there for 4 years, coming up on 4 years, and when my wife and I were moving into the area, we did a lot of research because we had to overpay for the land, and we wanted to make sure that it was a good investment. And we found out about the easement and the conservation land, and I called the Army Corps of Engineers and got a hold of a guy that talked about the wetlands area and how it was protected. There's wildlife, it's an arterial connection to Utah Lake, and no one would ever be allowed to demolish that or build there, and so we purchased the home. But, you know, it's not even just about me and our property and how my value would be impacted, but it's really about the neighboring area. This is one of the highest density areas in Mapleton already. It doesn't look anything like it did 4 years ago when we moved in. It seems like every day there's a new home being built, and now there's hundreds of townhomes with more to come, and a huge city park. So the traffic that's going to flow through this area is immense, but I don't see the benefit to anyone that lives in that neighborhood. The benefits to everyone on the east side. There's no benefit to us that are already living in the highest density area in Mapleton, or one of. And we moved here for that reason. I grew up in Alpine, and we wanted to live somewhere that was similar and that had similar values for open land, space, community feel. And I feel like Mapleton has that, but building this road will lose some of that charm. And this is also one of the only open areas in that space. If you drive around the Sunrise Ranch neighborhood, including both north, south, east, and west, there's no open land. This is the only spot. And if that's gone, it's just like any other city, right? Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Landon.
My name is Linda Hawley, and I own the land that would, to the north, where the Stubbs comes through, so it would come along part of our property, the new road. I've lived in Mapleton 51 years, and to see the kind of things that have taken place down there, there's hardly any open space left. I just want to ditto what everybody has said. The wetlands there are many springs that come out of there in that wetlands. There's all of the area around there. That's the only piece left. And to put a major road through there is just not, in the thing it says, oh, it's relatively flat. It's not. It's, it's got a lot of major problems. So I don't know how you'd get across the wetlands, the bridges, whatever, would absolutely ruin it. And I just want to say that after living here this long, I'm totally against what's going on with this new road.
Thank you, Linda.
Hi, I'm Ryan Harris. And they asked a lot of questions and commented, but I don't know if I've heard the answer. When you guys do, or when that fellow that was here, when they do the study and stuff, do they look at alternate routes?
Yeah, that's the whole point, yeah.
Has there been an alternate route that's could happen? I mean, from what I've understood, everybody's kind of focused on the one, and they've mentioned some of the other ones that I was sitting there looking at my phone and looking on some of the routes through like the Evergreen Road. It looks like there's a little hang up maybe where that cemetery, the corner of the cemetery is. But I mean, even if you eminent domain right through those storage units, you're not affecting families, you're not affecting homes. It looked like a little hard corner there. That might be a hard one, transition. But have they looked at like a secondary that is like could happen?
But besides just using Evergreen Road, because that is what part of the no build is assuming if we don't build a new one, what happens to Evergreen Road? So I mean, yes, that alternative has been.
I would just note, yes, we do look at all the alternative pulling areas, and I know you're doing all the same. And that's what we're here tonight to do, is also to get your insight. And I'm hearing Evergreen Road's one, it's a topic. But yeah, we do look at that.
Did they do studies on it yet or anything that way?
On Evergreen?
Yeah, I may have missed it, but was there studies that?
In terms of the traffic, in terms of the traffic modeling, that's where the analysis says if we build, we looked at a no build, no more connections west. We looked at if we do just the connection on 1600 North in terms of a new connection west, and then we looked at and including, since Evergreen Road is there, what is the traffic on Evergreen Road? And then we looked at what if we do.
And to know, which I know you're aware of, some of that area is Springville City as well. We'd be working with them.
So with what they studied, is there potential for it to work through that area?
In terms of if we were to say, so what I would say is that there's been discussion that the plan that includes, it kind of speaks back to what I was said in my introduction, or not my introduction, but my explanation about this project is the plan that was. So the plan of connecting Maple Street through to the west was in place when, for example, Slant Road in Spanish Fork used to go through down to, I guess what is that, R1600 South, and then they built the connector, the Spanish Fork Parkway. So that was in and saying, hey, this is going to work, assumed, because it was shown in our plan that Maple Street was in there. Our connections onto when the entire, I know at least the Sunrise Ranch neighborhood, the entire master plan development, and it may have also been, I'd have to look back and see on the Mapleton Grove, but at least on the Sunrise Ranch development, The connections that we worked with the developer to propose going to Springville, connecting those local roads, that was made under the understanding, again, with the plan of West Maple Street would connect west. That was already on our plan. And so that's where all those negotiations happened. So, I mean, I guess if you're asking theoretically, could Springville upsize and do something different on, because that's not ours? Could they do something on theirs to take all the traffic instead of us continuing with the plan that we've had for 15 years to take the traffic on our streets? Yes, they could, but if we don't want it on our streets, I guess that's my question. Why would they want it on theirs?
Yeah, I understand.
When that wasn't the plan, hasn't been the plan
But
for 15 years.
where's the border right there of Mapleton to Springville? Is it
The
right out there?
border, so it varies as it goes further north, but as it goes through the Sunrise Ranch neighborhood, it is the railroad. And then kind of as the Sunrise Ranch ends and you get up into that neighborhood approaching Evergreen Road, it kind of jogs back and forth. So without the map, I don't remember the name of all
Gotcha.
the streets, but yeah.
All right, I was just curious on that. Thanks, that's all. And I am against it, so.
Thank you, Ryan.
My name's Greg Gessel. I guess, just so I understand, failure means gridlock, right? And we're talking 4 South and 89 in Springville is gridlock and failure? Is that what we're calling failure?
There is a threshold that they term the word failure, yes. What perspective and perception of that is for us general public is up for interpretation, but there is measurable metrics that
So
planners use.
I drive a
for
lot
calling
every
it-
day to get to work and back through failure.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And
we all do.
I imagine we did a lot of studies to make sure there was no failure, and apparently didn't work. So, I know 1700, or Evergreen wasn't meant to handle the traffic, but neither was a wetlands easement meant to handle traffic. So, I don't understand exactly where, and I'm sure all you guys live east of where all this is going to go through. You know, I guess I'm going to say I'm really not that worried about your gridlock getting home just so there's a road through my house. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If somebody wanted to build a house up on the eastern side of this place and make sure that they could get to the freeway easily, you know, maybe they should have looked a little bit deeper into how that was going to grow and what was going to happen later on. So this doesn't seem like a very good idea. It doesn't seem really well planned out for everyone, just a few. So we're pretty much all against this, so it's not a good idea. And I'm used to being over in the South Hollow neighborhood. We get a lot of stuff that rolls through there. Every time we come in here and talk to somebody, they go, oh, we had a study. We came and talked to everybody. We put up all these posters. We got collection of signatures. But nobody in South Hollow has ever seen any of this. So, you know, I guess I should have driven past the park for some reason in the middle of the summertime and looked for posters so I could decide what was going on. But again, it was always supposed to be a green easement, wetland easement. I don't understand how you can just go, yeah, we're just going to change that now. It wasn't something that a developer could change, but I guess UDOT can. So we'll see where that goes. But my only hope is I'm very old and stuck in my house when this all goes through, because I know UDOT doesn't get anything done real fast. So hopefully it won't be done when I'm here to not enjoy it. Thanks.
Thanks, Ray.
Excuse me. My name's Casey Snyder, a Mapleton resident, of course. Not a traffic engineer, but I stayed last night at a Holiday Inn Express, so I think we're set. A big concern, of course, with the proposed Maple Street expansion. The expansion would alleviate 3 houses that are currently on Slant Road. Those are the houses that wouldn't be demolished from facing traffic from the major congestion or the major connector that Slant Street currently, or Slant Road, I'm sorry, currently is. So right now, Slant Road's your major connector. It connects to South Spanish Fork Parkway, which is also a major connector. So those 3 houses would be relieved of the traffic while you introduce the same amount of traffic now to 21 houses on another section of Maple Street when you realign it. And I'm sure you've seen the Truman Show when he pulls out of his driveway and then all the neighbors back out at the same time. So you're not really going to get any effective traffic through there, especially at peak commute times, simply because of the current design of the neighborhood. This should have been kiboshed 10 years ago when it was being thought up, but it wasn't, so that's where we are today. The other thing this plan calls for is essentially, again, Slant Road currently exists. It currently handles a lot of traffic, it connects onto Spanish Fork Parkway. This plan essentially abandons Slant Road and diverts all of that traffic onto Maple Street and through a neighborhood. So there's no reason your currently existing infrastructure on Slant Road couldn't be improved. The bend kind of near the railroad track could be straightened out. It could be connected to Spanish Fork Parkway. Some type of traffic control system at Spanish Fork Parkway and Slant Road could be implemented to handle the traffic. With the addition of the imminent completion of the Dry Creek Parkway overpass, the major focus should be on connecting that to 89 there near the 1600 North connector, because that's where all of the traffic that's going west is going to go. There's not really any reason to shove a bunch of traffic through a neighborhood and then have it either go to SR 51, and then it looked like on the map, and I hadn't seen that, it looks like it connects on farther at some point, was the plan. So, let's see, high density house, sorry, reading through my notes here, Slant Road, Spanish Fork. Well, I could probably rattle on for a few more things, but basically the idea is we should utilize the current major collectors that are already in place, Slant Road, improve Slant Road. If it's really the city's, desire to have a warm fuzzy, to have Maple Street, named after him, it's, part of our heritage. It would be easier to rename Slant Road Maple Street and rename Maple Street that's in part of Sunrise Ranch to something else. So, thank you.
I agree with that.
You
I do
appreciate
agree with
Casey.
that.
Good evening. My name is Felix Santana. I live on 130 South, which is directly right, well, this new road would be right behind my road, or my house, sorry. My concern is, for the Stubbs and Jean Marie, but also that would be taking out part of my backyard. And I think that when I moved to Mapleton 11 years ago, since I'm a horseman by trade, that was very attractive to me, that I could have some horses there, or a horse, or whatever. I rodeo in the summer, and sometimes I just lay over at that place when I'm going from rodeo to rodeo. So with that said, what's going to happen to the animal rights after this road's built? And if you're going to take out part of my property to build this road? Also, with that, I think that the value of the homes might go down instead of going up. So, will we get paid for some of our land also, since you guys are taking it to build this road, or what's the story there?
So like we said earlier, none of those details have been worked out. This is just a general decision to adopt this transportation plan, and if it were to be decided that this road would go in, then all of those details would be worked out.
Okay.
But as has been said, current market value is what is typical for governments to buy out property.
All right, well, thank you very much for at least hearing us. I don't agree with it, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Felix.
My name is Vance Skinner. I live on Slant Road. I'm 84 South Slant Road, and if this road goes in, I'm going to have roads on 3 sides of my property. And I've been there for 13 years now, and I watched all the houses that came in took up all those fields that Paul's family owned. And we're seeing what's happening to the springs is it's just getting pinched and pinched, and then if you put this big road in and a bridge over the top of it, it's gonna destroy it. And it's a beautiful place. I used to love to look out the back of my house across the fields. One day I caught a golden eagle stuck in a fence. I happened to look at it, I thought it was a trash bag, and he was flipping and flopping, and I rode out in my quad and took him out of the fence and took him to this lady that takes care of the birds. But I hate to see it change so much. I'm from LA. I was a contractor in LA for 40 years, and I watched the valley just get consumed. And I'm wondering what the studies is that's being done for the east side is how much more building is going to go on the east side that's going to be able to be vented through the Slant Road project. And the high density building is all closer to the highway, to the 15, or that's where it should be. It shouldn't be on the east side of 89. So if the east side's not going to grow that much more, I don't know where they're going to put it, but you're going to vent it right through the center of Maple Street. It just doesn't seem like it would be advantageous.
Thanks, Vance.
Hi, my name is Jill Thorpe, and I just have one comment. You said we're not discussing whether this road is going to go, or what's going to happen here, but if you accept this tonight and pass it or whatever, the road is going to go in, correct? Then we'll come back and have the same discussions? Is that, if you accept this tonight, then the road's going to go through one way or the other? And my other question is, years ago, if you had a wetland and you closed the wetland, then you had to relocate that someplace else? Like I said, that was years ago. I don't know if that's the same thing. Have you thought about where we're going to relocate the wetlands? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Crystal Snyder. One thing, looking at a map, it seems to be that the northeast and northwest of Mapleton is looking pretty full. So a lot of this would be to expanding homes in the southeastern portion of Mapleton. Growth we know is imminent, and we want growth here. But maybe we could use some roads or areas more south. For example, where the Harmons is going, maybe a larger road there, or maybe by the high school. And then maybe we can get a second opinion. I mean, you don't always just believe the doctor, right? So, thanks.
Thanks, Crystal.
I'm Mark Butler. I've lived in Mapleton since '76. My parents lived on Maple Street. I've seen that road get a lot busier. When they looked at the other roads, did they look at them as they exist and whether they could handle that traffic as they exist, or did they look at them if they modified them and made them wider? There's a big difference between those two options. If you're looking at a narrow road, just how it is right now and how much traffic it can handle is completely different than if you added more lanes and changed it that way. We moved there in 2000. I live on 130 South, and the Stubbs have done a good job. They keep it clean. They have interesting animals. We really enjoy the view that we have Plus, we can still see the mountains and everything. I hate to see that go too. I'd be against it. And anyway, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Cox. I live on Doubleday. And so I'm a civil engineer, and I worked for UDOT. I was a statewide hydraulic engineer. And I've done a lot of these studies before that has been done. And I know the first study that's done is usually the top choice is the cheapest choice. They do this all for money. That choice is number one because it's the cheapest. So I think we should look at maybe the other choices might be a little bit more expensive, but that should be accounted for. Whenever we do these studies, we usually give 3 options. And all I've seen is one option. I didn't see the other 2 that are usually provided in the study. So being a civil engineer, this study seems a little incomplete. And I would recommend doing another study and having another independent verification done. So just my thought, and I'm totally against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Brandon. Anyone else?
I'll wrap it up here real quick. My name's DJ McDonald. I think most what I want to say has probably been said, but you know, we're fairly new to the South Hollow neighborhood. And you know, there's a reason that we moved into that neighborhood. It was kind of that rural feel. You know, we wanted animal rights. Our neighbors all had animals. You know, this was kind of the main thing that brought us to Mapleton. It helps my wife can walk to work from where she's at, but my concern is probably more on, this probably does hit on the value of the homes in that neighborhood, mainly because that is one of the big values of that neighborhood. So I think it really probably hurts, you know, that resale value of everybody within the neighborhood, mainly because those are the things that they're looking for and value in that area that they're moving to. So anyways, figured I'd say that. Thanks.
Thanks, DJ. You want another shot, huh?
Just one little thing I was just thinking of as the discussion's going on
As
here.
as long as we don't start all over again.
Right, yeah, right. And I think it kind of addresses the general point. Mapleton is kind of a long and narrow city, and going east and west is going to be a problem forever, probably. And even though if you were to put this road through, as Mapleton continues to develop, you're still going to have that issue of how do you move east to west. You have 89 going through the middle of it. You have several major cross streets, but I'm not sure that putting this street through would solve the problem. I'm 80 years old. I'll be long gone before that happens. But you could be in a situation where this ends up being kind of a stopgap solution to a problem that's going to be here forever. How do you move east to west in Mapleton when it's kind of a elongated, narrow city?
Thanks, Gary. Okay, anybody else?
When are we going to hear what you guys vote on?
So the way it works, the procedure is we make the presentation on what's been studied. We clarify questions as a council. Then we open it up to public comment, and then once public comment is closed, then it goes back to the city council to deliberate, make comments, ask more further clarifying questions, and then they make a decision.
So that'll be tonight. You didn't answer when I asked, how can you take away our easement when it's in our contract?
So we've got a lot of these questions written down. That'll during the discussion we'll address that. Once we close public comment, you won't be able to talk anymore, so this is your last chance. Okay, going once. Okay, see no further interest. We'll close the public comment and turn the time back to the council for discussion and any questions.
I would just like to focus on her question because developers and builders, are they not required to explain, like, so when we built, I'm on the west side, and when we built in D.R. Horton, I was told that there would be a road proposed through, at the end of Doubleday, so I was aware of that. I'm just wondering, are developers not telling the newer builds? Like, how is this information?
I can answer that. I work in the market every day, and you're fortunate that your developer had that as part of their disclosures in whatever form that was. I'm in the market every day, and I think many of the bigger developers do a better job at disclosing these types of things that are on the master plans or a transportation type of an item, but not all of them do. And I've also worked with clients who get the disclosures and they may or may not digest all that is disclosed either. So some do it better than others, but that's the answer to your question.
I would concur with that.
Okay. And then to follow up, if that road was proposed, if it was on that land, like how is that possible? I'd just like to focus on her question.
A conservation easement? I would suggest counsel on that one, that we would get some legal advice. Let's get our attorney involved with that one so we can come back with some information on that.
What I understand from code is that the way to, let me turn on my mic, that there are plenty of options for that, not that we would want to use them, but I think with the state, you can go and negotiate modification, you can relocate, that was already mentioned, and then eminent domain is something we would not want to do, but it's there. But the reality is, and this is one of my biggest concerns, public safety is one of the biggest factors in why you would want to do that, and that's one of the biggest reasons the road is labeled as a failure, is if emergency services can't get through. So there's been a lot of comments about people on the east getting over to the west, and I sort of like, it breaks my heart when I hear that. It's a reality, I get it though, but if the roads get clogged up and someone on the west calls 911, doesn't matter who's blocking your road, and we need to get an emergency vehicle to your neighborhood. So my biggest concern with this build, and I love all the feedback, I love that these neighborhoods organized to come talk, that's so critical. I hope you understand a lot of what we're dealing with, our decisions that have been made before us, and some of the challenges that we don't have the authority to say nobody can build. We don't have the authority to do that. People have land, they can do things with their land. So there's a lot of comments about the growth that has been happening here. I'm sorry, I can't control that. And many of you came as part of the growth that's been happening here, and we'd love to have you. So it is what it is. But we're elected here to look at the whole city. And so the challenge, one of the biggest challenges for me in this conversation, and it's one of the worst decisions we have to make, right? None of us are excited about this. None of us love this. But one of the hardest things is we're elected to look at the city as a whole. And if there is a giant fire and we can't get out of Mapleton, all of us, that's a problem. A road failure is a problem. And so, yes, there are dozens of homes affected and obviously 2 extremely affected and lives changed. We understand that. None of us would want our houses in this place either, but we have to, the hard work that we have to do is look at the city as a whole. So for me, the safety factor is critical. And so when we're talking about road failure, one of the definitions of road failure includes public safety being unable to get to a home. And I think the data is pretty clear. If we do nothing, your homes might be affected. So this isn't just about people on the east getting out and being able to get to Costco or not clogging 400 South. There are other issues. So there's a lot of issues about public safety. That's one factor, and you're shaking heads, but that is a huge factor to get people out of our city and to get emergency services to everywhere. So that's a factor for me. I'm not in a position where I'm like yay or nay yet. I want to hear some of the conversation, but I just want to say public safety is a factor about what we had questions about the definition of road failure. That is one of the definitions, is if public safety does not function as it's supposed to. That's just part of the definition.
It came to Planning Commission while I was on it, and that was one of the biggest reasons why we voted yes for it to move forward, because of that safety. All of our safety, our public safety is on this side. So yes, we are upset about the east side coming to the west side, but we want them to have that easy access as well as getting to hospitals or wherever else we need to be. But I appreciate the comments to be able to open it up to more understanding, because it's nice on paper, but it's nice to be able to have a personal feel and understanding and know that there needs to be more education. Unfortunately, I wish there were more people at that Planning Commission meeting to be able to speak up to that.
The city just tells you to show up.
To address the public safety item too, sorry.
I'm sorry, but we need to keep, yes, we understand that. We understand that, but we need to keep
Not
order,
that
and you guys have had your time, so now we need to let the council deliberate, okay? Any other questions or comments?
Well, if this has already been voted on to move forward.
It has
Oh, it has not.
It has not
Nope.
been.
It has
No,
not
there are
been voted on.
steps.
This hasn't been voted
That-
on.
There was
Sorry, I
one,
apologize.
the first process, the first step in the process is these things come to the planning commission. They make their recommendation. It was not voted on to happen. It was voted on to recommend approval to the city council. This is the final say right here.
My question was, is why am I just barely being notified?
Just,
Okay.
I'd just say, and then just for public information, so Planning Commission generally always meets on the second, fourth Thursday of each month, and we post it out there in the front. We put it on social media, our website. You can go to our website and pull up all of the Planning Commission, City Council minutes of the past. So if for the future, if you're always wanting to see what's going on each month, definitely go to our website, pull up those agendas and those packets, and it has, going back to how far back?
I will say, we also posted notifications in the newsletter that comes in all the utility bills. I mean, I feel like we tried to, through utility bills, through social media, we posted it on our.
You're hearing from the primary stakeholders of this plan today before you pass the plan. That's great. That's feedback that I would want to have.
That's why we have public hearings, absolutely.
Yeah, and I would just mention that just so for the future, that gives you an idea as to how the public noticing process works. So.
But I, as a citizen, can appreciate where you're coming from, because I'm busy, and I don't necessarily am always looking at the city's Instagram account to see what's happening and digging into it and whether it applies to me. We understand that, but we as Mapleton, from my perspective and dealing with the city at this level, at a leadership for 10 years, we as a city have been, by factors of 10, more transparent and outreach with all of these things than most other cities that I've seen. So we try. We're trying our best to do as far as that goes.
This late feedback is still valid.
That's great.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
I guess all I'm asking for is where my house is potentially going to be torn down. The mayor coming and talking to me, you coming and talking to me. Instead of finding out from Joe Blow down the road. You know what I mean? Like, Melanie, you can come and talk to me. You know, I mean, this is my home. And I'm finding out from people on the road, hey, did you hear about that street? They're gonna knock down your house. Well, what? You know what I mean? And I'm not on Instagram all the time. I don't read the newsletters. I'm sorry. I'm busy. You know, but coming to my house and having a conversation with me and Jean Marie, and hey, this may be in the works. I want to give you a heads up.
You're absolutely right, and we completely empathize with that. I think a lot of us were under the understanding that you guys were aware. And this process has started way before some of us were in the positions we were in. So we just ask that you appreciate where we're coming from and that we're trying our best to consider every angle, and especially your guys' positions.
Oh, I'm grateful for all that you guys are doing, but I think where the homes are in jeopardy and there needs to be more communication with us. You know, I mean, do I need to relocate? Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? And I think where I'm coming from is, I wish I would have been told before now.
Understood. Completely get that.
Or having the survey people come in and survey my property without permission. I had no clue.
Clearly, there's some things that we can do better.
Do better, yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. But let's let the council continue to talk.
So I'm kind of torn on this because I echo Jessica's comments on public safety, but I'm also one of those east siders that need to get to the west side, need to get to Costco, need to get to Springville, need to get to the freeway. And I am part of the failures on Evergreen. I'll admit it. I go to Evergreen probably anytime I need to go to Spanish Fork, and that road is a failure. You get to Evergreen and you go down the railroad tracks and you cross over those railroad tracks, and in the wintertime, I've towed out probably half a dozen teenagers who fall off that road. And I get frustrated sitting at that stop sign trying to turn left to get to Spanish Fork because the backup is all the way to the railroad tracks. So that road is a failure. Echoing, just bringing up some of the comments about widening Evergreen. If you look at Evergreen, you look at the layout, there's probably 200 grave sites that would need to be torn up to be able to move and widen Evergreen. What's that?
Go the other way. There's a whole other side of the road.
Okay.
Citizens' homes like yours.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have Springville residents will be up in arms that Mapleton's proposing to widen and take away their homes or take away their sidewalks. So it's not wide enough for what was being proposed, and I get that. I get your frustration. This is just my perspective as a resident and what I'm voicing my concern here tonight. Taking into account the public comment, taking into account the fact that most of these neighbors, Jean Marie and the homeowner of Stubbs is the last name, I forget, right? Okay. Have not been notified. My recommendation would not be to vote on this tonight, would be to continue it, to get more feedback, to get more alternate options, to see what other roads there are. I mean, if you look at it, I get it, you know, this is the straightest option, straight through Maple Street, straight through to connect to the existing Maple Street on the other side. But where else, I don't know if there's another option.
I'm supportive of that, Jake. In fact, that's the note I just wrote down. I think we've had quite a lot of changes happening. This has been around for a while. And I'm certainly not opposed to going back to just to check. I think this is important enough that we should go back in and double check the due diligence on it. I do want to be clear, Rob's a messenger.
Yeah.
This is not a Rob conspiring against the citizens of Mapleton. Rob does his job, and he does it well. I am terribly sorry to hear that those of you with homes were not met with previously. That is an error, for sure, and should have happened. That is disrespectful, and this happened in 2010. Like we said before, this has been on the map, but we could have checked too. So I apologize for that. And didn't even occur to me that that conversation wouldn't have been had. So I would be makes me a little emotional to think about being in your position. So I'm sorry to hear that. I love how complimentary your neighbors have been about what you've done with the land and how you've shared it too. So I would hate to see that change unnecessarily. So to me, my recommendation would be, unless there is a critical need today, but I would make a motion to continue this item pending additional investigation into options, including conversations with Springville.
What might that look like, though? I mean, based on the road crossings at the railroads, right? We've got 3 sites, correct? Three sites, 16 potential sites, right? 1600 North, Evergreen, and 1600 South, and Maple.
And Slant Road.
And
yeah.
Slant Road, okay. So I guess my question is, I'm not objecting
No, no,
to further
this'll
investigation. I'm just
clean it up.
wondering what
Yeah.
might come up. It's not that a new road is going to appear out of nowhere that we didn't see before.
No.
Is that a matter of, do we look and see if, what does that look like? What, based on those limited options, are we looking at, what does it take to expand Evergreen? I'm just curious what you're thinking about a second opinion or doing more due diligence.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I appreciated the suggestion for getting another eye on it. And yes, technically, we've had a bajillion eyes on it, but this is a big, not a bajillion, that's not a real number. But like we said, this has been around in plans since 2010. And Rob's done a great job. Our consultants have done a great job formulating it, but this does have a serious impact. And I'm not confident that even my own knowledge would say, am I 100%? This is absolutely the best thing. I'm like 90%, and that's kind of a bummer. Like, I kind of don't want to feel like this is the best thing, but I think it's important enough that we can go back. I think we've had some relationship changes. I think we've had some priorities that have evolved. Springville has too. I'm not confident with the position of all of their new council members, where they are on this one. So I think actually the timing is appropriate for us to go back and say, okay, if we could, A, work together and do something faster, maybe at another location, and alleviate some of the stress off to 400 South, maybe there is opportunity to talk, but I would sure hate to vote on something without me being confident we've exhausted everything. Rob, I believe in your role, you have exhausted everything. So again, this is not about that. This is about, I'm not ready to vote on this unless it's something that legislatively we can't get funding, or we can't exist unless we vote on it. And even then, I'd probably vote against it. So I'm still set on the motion to continue pending an additional investigation.
Can we, instead of throwing away the entire plan, I mean, the web-based story map, everything you've done, your consultants have done, the interaction that the public can go in and click, and this is phenomenal. I spent hours looking at this. I don't think we throw away the entire plan.
No.
I think the part that the residents have spoken, and we have concerns, several of us council members, can we just pull out the Maple Street from the master plan and continue just that item?
Yeah, that's an option.
But we're not voting against it either. So we're not voting against it.
Just continuing that portion of the transportation plan.
I don't think the urgency to get the transportation plan in place is high enough to consider that. I think it's.
I would suggest that where it sets the priority, it sets the overall plan, and then kind of at least gives a general sense of what's the high, medium, and low, is that we need to make sure that we get the projects right. And we don't have to pass it today. And so I would rather wait until we have a plan that everybody can get behind than pass a portion of it.
I think there's consensus around it, all the things except for this one element, if we can look around. Of course, if this potentially changes, it might impact some of the other things.
So and to clarify, because, I mean, we could bring up a map, because it kind of speaks to, I just wanted to clarify that we, and maybe it will just take a discussion more with the mayor and council afterwards. This does include, this assumes that we are building 2400 South, I guess improving that west into Spanish Fork, and they're doing their part, from there on. 1600 South, Slant Road is connected in. 1600 North is connected. I mean, all those connections, all those other options that we have, and Evergreen Road is there. I guess I'm maybe looking for some more direction besides what additional things can we do? Because yes, we could, I guess, if this is the options and this is what you're saying, I just wanted to clarify where do you want us to go in terms of analyses? Is there potentially some more improvements that could be done to Evergreen Road and to Slant Road and Spanish Fork Parkway? Yes, those are in other cities, and we would basically be saying, hey, we've made these connections for the last 15 years as part of these plans, and you built these according, or at least the connection of Slant Road and Spanish Fork Parkway. Evergreen Road, Well, in terms of connections that we negotiated of how we were gonna connect into Springville were made assuming this plan was into place. And so can I go back to them and say, hey, we're not building this? So you need to improve these things, or we want you to improve these things instead? We can go back and say that, but I guess that's where I'm saying in terms of analysis, we already know what those numbers are. And so we know that if we don't do this, that's what we're saying to them. I'm not sure what more analysis we need to.
I would be very interested in those additional, if there are other improvement. If there's a magic solution we can find, I want to find it. That's what it comes down to. But I do think there's additional argument to be had about Springville and Spanish Fork in terms of funding. If our argument is these are regional connectors, then why wouldn't we be able to get MAG funding for Spanish Fork to do something on their part, or for Springville to do something? Like, it seems like there's another conversation there, maybe. I actually don't know. I don't literally know. I know what we talked about is that middle connection point, because if we go Evergreen, it's so close to 1,600. Like, there is a challenge there. I would much rather make sure we've considered all the things and before we disrupt the situation we're in.
Okay.
I am not a civil engineer.
I think that's good. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little color as well, I guess. So I moved here in 2015. In 2020, we had a big neighborhood issue. And during that issue, we realized that there is this road going from 2400 South, all from 1200 West to 800 West. And my neighborhood was all up in arms for that, and we have been for a while now. Of course, being on council, I knew that, okay, with the master transportation plan, here's our opportunity to make our voice known, to kind of find out the reasoning for it. And so my neighborhood has been very involved for the past year with these workshops we've had. But that's also because I've been able to rile them up, right? And so you haven't had that luxury to have someone in your neighborhood to rile you up, right? And for me, voting for this transportation plan, there's still parts of it I don't get and I don't like, but I have to take my resident hat off and put on my council hat on for the majority of, for the general planning of it. But still, I never wanted to be on council and displace someone, right? And to move someone out of their home. And so I'm in favor of doing as much homework as possible, unturning every rock, and just making sure that we know exactly what we're doing here, and that you're a part of the process and you feel a part of the process as well.
So I'd just suggest as we talk about the specifics on these particular access points, but also have as a staff, we'll do some research on that conservation easement topic, as well as the wetlands topics that's been brought up, and a number of other issues that's been listed tonight by the residents. So.
Yeah, I think that one alone justifies a continuance, just that easement alone, just to get more clarification on that. So, okay, we have a motion officially.
Motion for continuation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I made
the motion. We need a second.
Then I second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Edgar and a second by Councilmember Bott. We'll start with you, Councilmember Bott.
Bott, yes.
Lake, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Okay, unanimous to continue the item, to gather more information.
Mayor, can you let our audience know what the next steps would be, and so they can stay in the loop once we've had the public hearing and we continue it, there isn't another public hearing?
Correct, yeah. So what happens now is we go back to the drawing board, not to the drawing board, but we go back and research what we've talked about researching, potentially reach out to you guys and get more perspective one-on-one with you guys. The scheduling of the next meeting where we will address this, and ultimately council will have to vote to approve the transportation plan, however it looks. We'll come back to a meeting in the next week or 2 months. It just depends on how we feel like we've gathered the information we need. The law states that we only have to have a public hearing about the item one time, and that was tonight. So there's a high potential that we could bring this back to the council. We'll do everything we can to notify you and make sure you know that when that's happening. But it might be that you won't have the option to speak to the item anymore. Does that make sense? So we've heard public comment, and the council can vote yea or nay on this item when it comes back, regardless of what research has been.
Mayor, I would add to that, just because there's not a public hearing doesn't mean you can't sign up for public comment at the beginning of a meeting. So if you see your agenda item pop up or not, you can always come to a meeting, sign up over there, and speak to anything. So there's always an opportunity for a citizen to use their voice, even if it's not a public hearing item, okay?
Yes. And that goes generally, like, this is the public forum sign up, and the procedure is we keep it on the table until the beginning of the meeting, and if you want to speak to something, anything, you've got time if you put your name down on there at the beginning of the meeting, so.
Corey, can we make one note on when this comes before the agenda the next time? The two homeowners, let's say this is the best plan, this is the transportation plan, we're going to vote on this plan. Can we notify these two homeowners with a sticky note on their door, knock on their door, representative?
Absolutely.
Make that a note.
Can we recommend an additional notice within, what do we normally notice, 500 feet, 500, 300?
feet.
Can we notice
Yeah, we can do that if you'd like us
to let people know that, I don't think it would be the form of notice that we legally have to do, but I think it would be
As a courtesy.
lovely to notice
It would be
them, to let
Mapleton
them
of
know
us to do
an
it.
update is posted or a revision or some kind of information, just direct to these neighborhoods. If we can do that, that would be groovy.
And if we'll get the word to you guys and rely on you to get the word to others that may not be at this meeting or may still be ignorant of the situation, so.
Is there stuff that we can share with them through that process of like, this is, the research that we found? Because during that public input that they had throughout the different activities they did, a lot of these people, they said they weren't aware of that. And so we definitely want to let them know through that education process of this is what we found out, how can we do that?
It appears that that's accessible on the web. If you're referring to the story, what was it called, the story plan?
Or, yeah.
It's all on the website on the
Transportation plan.
I'm sorry, I had a link directly to it, so I don't know if it's on the front page or if it's in Public Works, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's in Public Works, on the Public Works page. There's both links to the full plan, but also the story that this gentleman went through. That's the summary.
All the interactive stuff that he showed us, Jeremy did earlier.
So
You guys have
mapleton.org, Public Works.
I would ask, the communication process works both ways, and the city has done a really good job trying to expand social media, newsletters, digital and in print for people who don't use social. We've done, as you saw from this process, they did all of these different kinds of events in different locations. We can't afford, we mostly staff, but also this part-time legislator, we can't go meet with everyone. We need you to come. If we send you a letter, open it and read it about this, okay? Like, if you guys will commit to join us in this journey, that would be really helpful. There was a huge effort for the last year to try and make sure everybody knew what was going on, and unfortunately, we don't know what we don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, but the fact is, all of those things happened. And we're sorry that everyone in Mapleton doesn't know everything all the time. That's why you elect people to make decisions in part. But we're trying to get the information out in a billion different ways. And you might have to change how you receive information so that you can be the most informed possible. So for this especially, if they're going to go notice it or send letters about it, please open the mail. Please read it. That will be really helpful for all of us so you can give feedback on it. So I just kind of want that commitment.
And I read my letters on the city thing, and I follow you on Instagram, but I am never signing anything specific about the road going through my house.
Yeah, it's clear there was not a conversation
There's more
about a road going
just
through your house.
transportation plan, but yeah, I think it's.
We didn't speak to every it was letting people know that a transportation master plan was happening and where to find the information.
One of the. I saw, but I never clued into my house was being taken.
One of the best things that, if I had my druthers, here's my soapbox moment of the day. There's probably been a lot of them. I would love if we could magically help citizens understand how you could be involved in municipal government and affect change or provide input. You guys have just done a huge step about that, and that's wonderful. This is why we have this beautiful form of government. And so many people don't know what they don't know about how to get involved. We're even looking at doing a Mapleton 101 type course to say, hey, Do you know how budgets work? It's not the same as a checkbook. I can't just magically put money from here over here. The more you can help your neighbors, your fellow citizens understand about that or be involved, the better it's going to be, and the better we'll all do together. The city staff, the council, mayor, we can, I can't go sit with every single human. So we're trying to be diverse in how we communicate, but we're going to miss people sometimes. So give us a little grace with that and come to the table. There's no intention to do anything nefarious. We all live here. Nobody wants a road through their house. Well, we have to think about long-term plans. So come to the table with us. Keep coming to the table with us. We need you there, and we want you there. This is long game. I've said before, I have 10 plots in our cemetery. I'm not going anywhere. So, you know. I have a bench with my name too. It's creepy. Anyhow, appreciate you guys. Stay involved. The item was continued. We'll get more information. We'll share learning. If you follow me, I'm really pretty active on Facebook. For the last 6 years, I've posted the agenda every time. So even if you don't use Facebook, get on there and you'll follow me and it'll get pushed to you. You don't have to actively go find it. So there you go. There's tip 101. Sorry, there's my soapbox.
Thank you. With that,
Any of you ever been down there and looked at it?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Well,
How'd you get there?
we haven't walked through your yards, but we've been around it. We've studied it. We've.
The park.
And I've also had my house taken out from under me from an entity in Provo, so I've been in your position, and I know firsthand what it feels like. I do. And I'm on a different side of that issue now, but this is not an easy decision for any of us, and I want you to please understand that.
I invite every one of you to our farm, come and experience it, come hang out and feel what it means to us.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
It's not just a farm, it's not just land, it's home.
Mhm.
And a road will destroy it.
Yeah. For sure. Invitation accepted. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item. This is a consideration of an ordinance amending the Mapleton City Code, Chapter 9.18, specific to park use regulations.
Mayor and
And-
council, real quick, I don't know if anyone's here for that item. If not, maybe we go to the audit report and then come back to this one.
Is anybody here to hear the item number 5, the code amendment?
Probably not.
Okay, then let's do that. Let's take the item 6 and do it next.
Thank
So
you.
Bryce, this is a presentation of the fiscal year 2024, 2025 budget.
Yes, thank you. Aaron Hickson is our auditor, and he's gonna present the audit to you. I just wanted to give you a heads up. We're going to go into much more detail at our upcoming retreat and go into the details of our fund balances and details of our previous year's financial statements. And tonight he'll give an overview of this year's financial statements, and I'll turn the time over to him.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Yes, I represent HBME LLC. I'm an audit partner there. I was in charge of the assurance services provided to Mapleton City for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. And I will be brief. Gratefully, it was no findings, no issues of that in that regard, but I do want to talk about a few things. I will go through the report. You may have it. I will reference the numbers, but I even know that this is pretty boring. And so if you want to follow along, please stop me, but I'll just reference the number and go with it. Our audit opinion is on page 1 through 3. It is a standard opinion. It is unmodified or clean opinion. And it just says that we did not note anything that was a violation of generally accepted accounting principles and anything that we needed to note to modify this opinion. I will focus most of my, if not all of my comments in the Management's discussion and analysis. The reason why I do this is because this is the only area of the audit that is dual year presentation, and so you can see it changes year over year. The rest of the report is just current year data, and so you don't get to see trends as easily. And so on the top of page 4, it gives a brief 3-bullet highlights, financial highlights, and it talks about overall the net position or equity of the city increased about $16.5 million, ending at $174 million. Of that, $16.5 million, $10.5 was for governmental activities, and about $6 of it was for business-type activities. When you break down that $174 million of equity, you need to understand that much of that, about $96 million of it, is capital assets. This building, vehicles, lands, roads, things that you're not going to liquidate, things that you can't use to purchase things and use to operate the city. And so when you subtract that, you ended with a little over $12 million for community improvements, $6 million for Class C road projects, about $2 million for debt service payments, leaving you $58 million of unrestricted fund balance or equity that you can use for operations. And so that is the basic financial highlight. When you look at your overall income statement, everything was pretty similar with a couple changes. And charges for services. The charges for services for governmental activities went from $2 million to $3 million, so $1 million increase. And then there was an increase from business-type activities of $7.7 million to $9.3 million. And that is the only notable highlight in your income statement. Corresponding increases in expenditures did occur, but in general, your fund balance increase is due to revenues exceeding expenditures overall. There are a couple charts, and I will reference the one on the bottom of page 8. The reason why I want to talk about this is your business-type activities. Business-type activities are when you have a service that a customer, one of your citizens is a customer. They pay you for a service, so your utilities, your sewer, water, pressurized irrigation, and waste collection, they are buying a service, whereas other services like public safety, they are contributing it through tax revenues, but many people hopefully don't need to use public safety on an ongoing basis directly, and so those are governmental activities. With one exception, your revenues exceeded your expenditures in your business-type activities. Governmental accounting standards require when you have a business-type activity that it must at least break even. Otherwise, no reasonable person would say that you are operating a wise business because it's losing money. All of them, again, were good except for your pressurized irrigation. You had more expenditures than your revenues, and waste collection was very almost break even, so that's really good. If you look at the cash flow statement, this is where you'll see waste collection shows just your receipts from customers minus payments for suppliers and other services. All this is saying is it's not necessarily a problem, but it does beg the question of a rate analysis. Could be done, should be done on your business type activities just to ensure that your fee structure is such that it is covering the operating costs of these various funds. And that's all. Because if a business-type fund does lose money year over year, it is inherently subsidized by other funds, other governmental resources, and therefore it should just change to a governmental activity because you're not intending to break even in that regard. That's the only item that I wanted to cover. As far as areas of improvement that we noted. I do want to finalize my comments before any questions that you may have. There are two other reports that we are required to issue with a governmental entity. One of them is over the internal control environment of your entity. So Mapleton City has designed a internal control environment, and they operate that environment with those policies and procedures. We are required to go in there and look at those, some of them depending on, that we'll look at every single year just because of volume and activity, and other times we try to rotate the ones that are less impactful financially, just to make sure that it is well-designed and it's designed as, or functioning as designed. We did not find anything of note, and we, every single audit from every single entity, there are always areas of improvement. 99% of those areas of improvement stop at Bryce or maybe Corey's level, where we just say, hey, we found this, it seems to be isolated, or it's not a very material thing. We recommend these changes. They implement those changes, and we don't have to bring them to your level. Occasionally, when there are items like that, we will. There was nothing that required that, and so such that I don't even remember any of the items of particular, but I do know that there are always small items that we find when we randomly select samples of expenditures and revenues, et cetera. Finally, the state of Utah has a state compliance audit guide where they require us to look at certain procedures annually, and then they require us to look at certain procedures every 3 years. On page 63, it shows the 7 areas where we were required to look at the policies and making sure that you are following the state audit compliance guide. We did not have any issues that we are required to show as findings in these areas. And so with that, good year. The financial statements were filed with the state of Utah before December 31st as required by law. And I'm open for any questions.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate your time.
You bet.
I want to ask a quick clarification. You mentioned there was one business-related activity that was falling short of breaking even.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give more
Yeah,
details
so-
on that? What fund is that, and give
Yeah.
us more details?
Absolutely. We'd be happy to. Let me go back to that page. Yeah, so if you look at page 24 at the very top, there is, you have all your business type activities is water fund, sewer fund, pressurized irrigation, waste collection, and storm drain. It is the waste collection. The graph that I was looking at was so tight that I misrepresented which fund it was. It is the waste collection. So receipts from customers for the fiscal year ended June 30th of 2025 was $847,000. The payments to suppliers, $880,000, and then payments to employees, $42,000, which resulted in $75,000 loss in your operating section of. So it really just means maybe there hasn't been a fee analysis done on the waste collection fees in a while.
There's an imbalance somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, something, and that's all it is, just a little bit of analysis. This isn't egregious. This isn't necessarily an internal control violation. There's something, a budgeting issue.
Just an alert.
It just, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Okay. I'm sure we'll get to that, Bryce, huh? Okay,
Okay,
great. Thank you.
yeah, you bet.
Okay, any other questions?
Wonderful.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And-
thanks for staying.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That was actually enlightening. And if I may say, I think how you guys handled the
the questions and how you, especially you, Councilwoman Egbert, I think your response to all the questions was superb, and I wish that every council person could respond like that. You all seem well-educated in the topic at hand, and that is awesome, in my opinion. And I've been to many, many council meetings in my career, so thank you. And congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Bryce, do you need a motion on this?
Do we need a motion to adopt?
No motion needed unless you guys want to.
You can, as a council, you're welcome to, but technically we do not need.
Because the state requires this as law, you submit your financial statements. If you don't like it or you do like it, they don't care.
It's not just about that either, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Unless somebody's anxious to make a motion, I don't think we need one, so. Okay, thank you. We'll jump back to item number 5, the amendment of the Mapleton City Code, Chapter 9.18. Are you okay doing back-to-back items, Logan?
Yeah, I can go all night.
All right. We just might.
We don't want to.
Jake votes no.
Well, happy birthday, Logan.
It is. That's how much I enjoy this, is I'm here on my
You gave us a
birthday.
gift.
I know. There you go. Happy birthday.
I talked to you like 3 times today. You never mentioned this.
Now we might have to vote yes.
I don't even know how old I am. That's why I don't ever bring it up. It's like, once you hit a certain threshold, it's like, it's
That's a
there.
good way to go, Logan.
You're so
It's a
much
good way to
younger.
go.
I'm still young. I'm like 23 or something. So,
Age of how you feel.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel 16 of that. I look 16 too. Still height, all that stuff. All right. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So hopefully you had a chance to review this item. Really, this is just an opportunity to clarify and add language to our existing code. So Mapleton City Code 9.18 is currently the park use regulation. We are proposing to amend that to include the trails and open space. And really, that's where a lot of the main changes come from, are in the trails and open space portions of it. A couple other ones of note, just to note, is in our ordinance, we currently do allow dogs. They just are to be on a leash. That leash was not specified, distance of leash, and I'm sure you've seen some of those leashes that are 50-foot retractable leashes. Based on our research and looking at other cities and what they've done, that 8-foot seems to be consistent with what I was able to find from others. Me personally, as a dog owner, I would hate to not allow dogs in our parks. I think that doesn't make sense, but I do think for the safety aspect, when we look at all aspects of public, there are some people that don't enjoy dogs, and so I think this is a good balance to allow our dog owners to be able to utilize our parks, but then in a constrained way to hopefully help protect others that maybe wouldn't. So that one, it also, funny enough, I'm sure you've seen the comments and/or have seen it yourself, but the disposal of said waste is a problem. And so that's why we did add that in here as well, just to have something that was a little bit more enforceable, because that has become a problem, specifically on the trail. I would say our call volume of there's feces or other things on the trail has definitely increased, which is obviously great. We have people using it, but we'd like to make sure that we're cleaning up. One thing just to note on that, we are looking at options to be able to provide those dog waste stations in periodic spots along the trail.
I was just going to ask that. We don't have any currently, right?
Not currently,
Can I give
correct.
you a recommendation, and maybe this is on your radar? We, our HOA implemented those in my neighborhood, and I initially was a doubter, thinking nobody's going to use it.
Yeah.
They do use it, and then they put the bags full
Back
on
in.
the side of the sidewalk.
Yeah,
I would encourage you, as you're picking those, make sure it has a garbage can on it.
yeah, for sure. Thank you.
I knew you'd already have that, but I needed to know that I said it.
Yeah, there you go. Love it. And then just a couple other cleanup language when it comes to the commercial cells. We felt like it was a little bit redundant where it was saying it was prohibited, but then in our ordinance, it was actually saying you could do it, but based off of these criteria. So we just removed that commercial cells prohibited and just kept it at, if you do have those, here's the process that you would go through. And then one to note, just from the curfew hours, the trails are open all night long. That was based on some research at looking what other neighboring cities and then also some of our bigger trail networks along Utah, what they have, and that's pretty consistent. Corey and I talked about this quite a bit on, a dawn to dusk. Well, really, when do people really use the trail? And it's usually pretty early in the morning, and there are quite a few that are those late evening ones. So I just want to note that that is there. That is something that I think as we continue to build our trails, especially those up on the bench, I do think that may be something that we can evaluate in the future. If we feel like we're starting to have activity that maybe isn't supported late into the evening, maybe by some of our younger demographic like myself that would do those things. So just wanted to note that was also one. And then the big one really is the definition and classification of e-bikes. So we are consistent with the Utah State Code 41-6A-102. That is kind of where we leaned on for advice on how to classify these. And just for you as the council mayor and also for our public to understand, when we're talking e-bikes, we really are talking those with pedals. Now, then you classify on, are they pedal assist? Does it have the throttle? We are not talking about the Sur-Ons. The Sur-On is classified as a motorized vehicle. That is not classified as an e-bike. So that is a hot topic, not just for us, and I'm even sure Chief Hooley could testify to that at his time down in Spanish Fork, but I do want to bring that to the attention that this really is focused on e-bikes that have pedals and/or throttle assist and how they are classified. Are there any questions on those definitions specifically, and/or any other things that we're proposing to add in here? Oh, sorry, one other big one is the addition, so 9.18.090 is fires. So after a lot of conversation, obviously, we had that fire this past fall up on the bench. I think what's not known by a lot of our public is a lot of that property along the bench is Mapleton City property that was acquired and part of the TDR program. Our goal and my goal specifically is to get people up there to recreate, but we also need to be mindful that it is still city-owned property. So after good conversations with Chief Glasgow and Chief Jackson and staff, we came to the conclusion that we feel that it's best to prohibit any of fire activity on the bench. And so you'll see that was added in there as well. So any other questions? If not, it is a public hearing item, so we can open it up for public hearing, and then I can answer any other questions.
I'll just note too, in the process of this, I was concerned that we have this ordinance specific to the micromobility and e-bikes and things like that. The terminology and the classifications and all that kind of stuff, we want to make sure that it's congruent with what we have in the public safety code as well. And so I had both Chief and Logan look at that, and they ensured that they were congruent, so.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of to echo a little bit off of that too, just from the motorized vehicle. I mean, the intent, at least from my time being in here and as we went through our trails master plan, we never really intended to build trails that were for motorized vehicles. So, again, kind of take those Sur-Ons are kind of those one-off, but I mean, your go-karts, your ATVs, your UTVs, all of those things, we had never built the trail system for those. It was always intended for foot traffic, equestrian traffic, mountain bikes, that type of activity. So I really feel like this helps speak to that, but then still gives the public great opportunity to go up and recreate in such a beautiful space, so.
Logan, your goal here tonight, if this gets passed, and I know this has been a topic with council in our past meetings, is then you'll put some signage.
Correct.
Up in those areas so that the public knows what our roads are within those areas, so.
Yep, absolutely. That was always kind of
we're like, we want to post it, but we didn't really have anything that really officially supported it. So yeah, good. Thanks for bringing that up. We would, if this passes tonight, we then would be able to get our signs printed and posted so that it is, obviously not just posted as city property, but then also posted with these rules and stuff in place.
Okay. Unless there's another question or comment, we will open this up to public hearing. Anybody want to come to the mic? Please limit your time to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing nobody, we will close public comment, public hearing, and open it up to discussion, questions, motion.
Logan, question for you. You classify these class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes on paved parkways, pathways, and trails. What about city parks?
Same thing, because it's in the ordinance, that it would all fall under the same classification. Does that answer your question?
Because it's a park ordinance.
Correct. Gotcha. Yeah, and really the trail, the additional trail use regulations, those are just really centered around our multi-surface, multi-surface trails, not necessarily just our paved trail. So that was just to provide some extra, because obviously on those, we do want to allow mountain bikes, and we will probably have some dedicated e-bike routes, but they will be posted on how, and when those would be available.
I'll make a motion to pass the ordinance amending Mapleton City Code, Chapter 9.18, Park Use Regulations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Beck and second by Councilmember Jones. I think we're with you, Jake.
Like, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Bye, yes.
Okay, unanimous approval. Okay, we'll move to item 7.
Can we request a brief intermission?
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just brief.
Just brief.
3-minute timeout.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to turn off the camera though, so it's okay.
Never seen you run, Jake.
It's a race.
I do appreciate your the effort, the sentiment of, we don't want to
Throw away.
everything, right? Yeah.
It's beautiful, bro. I've never had that much. I mean, I was up till probably 2 o'clock just playing with that the other night.
It's a lot. But yeah, in terms of a proposal, it's hard to just split.
Well, I just gave
Yeah,
it
I
to
mean,
you.
everything else,
You still got to stay?
Roundabout up my
I
street.
realize we're still on.
Don't love it. I can understand, but-
Okay, are we good? We'll resume the meeting from our recess and move on to item number 7, discussion item for creation of a Mapleton Community Theater Program.
Awesome. Thank you, mayors and members of council. So this one's a really fun topic. This is something, I mean, me personally, I personally love to go and enjoy the arts, whether that's at a health center. We usually go to the plays that are run by the high schools, our community theaters. So it's something that me, myself, I've been able to see the benefits of what they can do. And I also think what's awesome about this conversation is it really was, you know, as staff, we're always looking to innovate and find ways to connect and bring people together. I feel like that's one of our core values in Parks and Rec is to bring people together. But I also think this one's awesome because we also had residents reaching out to us saying, hey, what about this? And that's, I want to quickly, we've got 3 of them here. We've got Katie Wiscombe, which she's a familiar face. She's on current chair of our Pioneer Days Committee. She just can't get enough of us. That's how awesome we are. And then we've got Chris Hawley, and then Bree Schaefer. And Bree is also on our incoming chair for Pioneer Days. So she also can't get enough of us. So, but I think that I bring that up because a lot of the times, and we saw this process a little bit with tonight, is what does the community want? You know, we're constantly trying to do surveys, asking questions, and very few times do we get residents that are coming into us saying, hey, this we feel like could be a value. And so really that's what I want to touch on. The very front part of it is as a staff, as we continue to look for things, I'm really appreciative of these folks and others that reach out to us and just ask the question, because then that's what leads to really good conversation, then ultimately, you know, hopefully is able to serve and bring value to the community. So with that, I want to just touch on a couple things aside from the staff report, and then I want to turn a little bit of time over to Katie to give a little bit of context from her standpoint, and then I can answer any questions. But aside from what was mentioned in the staff report, one of the things that we've tried really hard to do in Parks and Rec is adopt what our brand and pillars are when we just went through the rebrand. And I think the awesome part with theater is it touches on our small town feel. It has the connection piece. There's the service. There's heritage. There's that active lifestyle, the open space. I feel like there's a way in every one of our core values and our brand pillars to bring that in. And I think sometimes we don't necessarily have that in all the programs that we offer. And then secondary to that is I feel like we do a great job, and you'll see the annual report there today from last year. You know, we had roughly 3,200 kids that participated in our programs. A lot of those programs are centered around sports. And then, you know, we do have some of those arts programs, and that's something that we're continuing to, you know, place an emphasis on. But I think these types of programs really allow others who maybe don't get to recreate the way that we maybe traditionally recreated with sports or whatever it is. It gives them the opportunity to come together and be valued and be part of a team, because really that's what theater is. It's a team. So with that, I want to just give Katie just a quick minute, you can say what you need, and then I'm happy to answer any questions and/or expound on anything else that wasn't clear in the staff report.
Thanks, Logan. I have this lovely speech that I wrote, and it's quite articulate and beautiful. I'm not going to read it. There's glazed eyes, I should have brought Coke is what I should have brought. I think it would have been beneficial, but I just want to introduce myself. I'm Katie Wiscombe. I am I'm passionate about theater, and I share that with my family. My sister is actually Christina, she's here with us, and we have a group of people who sincerely and passionately feel that a community theater in Mapleton will be beneficial not only for the patron or the people who participate in the productions, but for the people who will be able to sit and enjoy family-friendly, community-based productions. I mean, our mayor ran heavily on community, and I appreciated that aspect when he ran for mayor. But I just want to say we're here today to petition for support and of Mapleton having a community theater, and I'm trying to summarize. So bear with me here. Mapleton Community Theater would be a citizen-run, city-supported vehicle for the citizens of Mapleton and surrounding communities to perform, participate, and enjoy live theater and the performing arts close to home. And that's a big one for me personally. I was commuting an hour every night that I was for Payson Community Theater. We hope to grow and build it from a summer musical to several shows a year and theater-based programs for youth. It should and will arrive at a point sooner rather than later where it will be self-sufficient. It will sustain itself so that the funds will, from the previous show will carry over to the next show. This is accomplished by the selling of tickets and other theater-related fundraisers and sponsorships, concessions that essentially fund the next year's productions and so on. We wanted, obviously and clearly, but we wanted to make sure that the people of Mapleton City wanted this as well. So we sent out a survey. We don't have the city's reach. So this is very much a word of mouth, and we sent it out, and we have to date about 187 responses in the affirmative, and all willing and wanting to not only participate, but support in any way they can theater in the community. We also had need. I mean, there's statistics left and right for the need for performing arts. And like Logan said, we don't all recreate the same way. And I feel that, and I recognize that, and I want the opportunity to have that there. And then we created action. We got a group of us together and said, what does this look like? What do we need to do? How do we need to do that? What is it going to take? How is it going to be funded? All these things. Logan had a listening ear, and we're grateful for that connection, that we were able to have a conversation about that. This small group that we gathered together has 80 years collectively of experience in the industry of theater. We have educators, we have teachers, we have directors, choreographers, dramaturgs, and performers, administrators. I personally served as Payson Community Theater's treasurer for the last 5 years, and so we know that the back and forward side of theater. Truly, in short, we feel that we are passionate, we are experienced, and we are willing. And for anybody who understands what that looks like in the city setting for volunteers, we are willing. And we're willing to take the time to put the effort in and to make this big a success. We have the people, we have the 15,000, how many people do we have in Mapleton right now? About 50?
Approximately, yeah.
We have the populace, and we have the desire. And I really believe what Kevin Costner, those whisperings in Kevin Costner's ear in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Logan, why don't you touch a little bit on the timing, and obviously this could have been a retreat topic, but there was some time was of the essence for.
Yeah, thank you. And one thing I just wanted to note from the survey, so those 187, 86% were Mapleton residents, so 162 that took it. And then of that, there was a 92% or 172 that said they would participate in a play, whether that's via cast, production, all the above. So from a survey standpoint, that's always great, obviously, when you get the good participation, but then also the willingness to act on that. So, so yes, the part of, and I'm still learning all of the back end of what goes into this, but you have all of your licensing that goes into being able to put on a production. And then to do a production, then you also obviously need to give your staff and your choreographers, all of those people time to then be able to put on a show. And so that's really why I felt it necessary to get it in front of you in this setting, is because we really are kind of running up into that. If we want, one thing to note too, we do, through our interlocal agreement, are able to use the Maple Mountain High School, and have already secured that through them and have all the dates blocked out of when we would like to do the productions. And then I've also worked with their drama teacher and their sound engineers on being able to maximize use of already bought things for production, which when you talk to other cities, specifically outside of Utah County, that's pretty unheard of to have such a good collaborative agreement. And so we are grateful with Nebo School District. So based on that, we're kind of running up into that time of, if we're going to be able to do and put on that production this year, which is, as staff and as Katie mentioned, is what we would love to do, we need to really get cranking on trying to get that out to our community, to give adequate time and fair to them to be able to adequately prepare and get our licensing and stuff in place. So
Plays start.
in June.
Holy cow, are you serious?
Just a couple questions on my end. Just give us a really quick snapshot of how this looks philosophically and physically. Like, where would you hold them? Costumes, all the physical preparation, set design, building, construction, all that kind of stuff. I assume you guys have already considered all that, and the place and the cost and the actual movement of all that kind of stuff.
Correct, yeah. So, again, very high level without getting too granular on some of those, but in working with Maple Mountain, we are able to utilize some of their set pieces that have already been built, at least the frames, and then we can then interchange those to whatever our production would be. So that right there saves a lot of time. They're willing to say, when you guys are in your season and your shows, you're welcome to store them in Maple Mountain where they already have all of their set and props and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of one side of it. We would need to have a lot of storage for the potential like costumes and other things. And obviously, the idea behind community theater is once you have one thing that you're going to use it again and again and again and again. And so over time that would grow. And so other cities have utilized storage units that are where they're able to just go and put everything in there. And then during season, whoever's doing costumes, whatever it is, are able to then go pick out whatever it is, bring them. So we'd need to find creative solutions for that as far as, storage and once you accrue a lot of those things, then being able to find a spot for them. And then as far as, casting it and where they would practice, all of those types of things. So Memorial Hall, we've kind of earmarked in our schedule to be available for set rehearsals if the high school were not available, or the junior high, or one of our other schools, which is something that I think is unique, that we do have a space that we can offer, that we can prioritize to help make a program successful. And then what was the first half, sorry, of your question on the, or is there anything else I guess I didn't answer? Felt like there was one other part.
Costumes and set design and storage and all that. I think you covered everything I was
Okay,
asking.
perfect.
Mentions here that funding sources, the RAP tax funding. I don't know where we are in that process, but are we at a point where RAP committee is taking applications? And
Yeah, all the applications have been received, but those cannot be expensed until July 1. So that would be for next funding cycle. Does that make sense? Because we're on when you start talking fiscal year and calendar year, it gets a little bit confusing. But the RAP tax applications that were received, and one of them that was received was for community theater. That would not go into effect until July 1, so your production window is already gone, so then you'd be looking for 2027. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and our applications opened in October and then closed at the end of December. And then really, we're just waiting on, from a process standpoint, we were just waiting for council assignments to be able to move forward with, you know, I've reached out to the committee, they have all the applications, they're reviewing them. And then once we knew who that person was, then we're able to have a more formalized meeting, go through everything and, you know, ask any questions, and then ultimately that'd come back to city council for approval through the budgetary stuff.
We can update you more in the future, but those applications did come from city.
Yeah, every application was city submitted.
I love that this is a perfect example of government at work. Like, this is should how a citizen-led government should work, like golden. Citizen-driven initiative, connecting with the city, taking so much initiative to figure this out. Like, I love this so much. I'm a theater nerd, and I spend a ton of money outside my community to take my 10-year-old boy to go see live productions. It's important to me. I think it's a total fit with who we are as value. Like, I can't even imagine something else better aligning with this community. But besides that, this is a really low-risk initiative. It's not like low risk, high reward. Like, there's no reason not to do this. So I am like totally in. The only thing is like, well, Maple Mountain's in Spanish Fork. So we'll have
I know.
to build a facility at some point.
Yeah.
But the
Dream big,
amount
Jessica.
of dollars in this community that parents are sending kids to music, dance, theater related stuff, I don't think we're going to have that kind of funding problem as we get some traction. So I am all in. Go for
Yeah.
it, ladies.
And,
This is
and really on that too, and we were just talking briefly before we started into it, is there are a lot of ways to be creative on finding those revenue streams, you know, through partnerships and doing galas or other things that could bring people that have the passion for the arts. And we barely scratched the surface on that in our pro forma.
And I'm ready for the Pioneer Day preview. Like, when you have 10,000 citizens out there, do the preview. Like,
Yeah.
raise some, like, let's do this.
Yeah, sky's the limit,
Cool,
for
yeah.
sure.
Well, I was curious about, and I know this is just a rough pro forma, I get that. And I agree with Jessica, I don't have any issues with it by any means. So when I ask a few questions, it's not, it's just more informational. You've made some estimates, you know, 50% capacity per show. Oh, you've got a few different scenarios here, right? And maybe this shows, yes, I have gone to community theater. Yes, I have. But I don't frequent it, and I don't frequent it in every city in the town, right? If it's somebody I know who's in doing it, I go see it. With a city of our size, I'm showing my ignorance. Is there enough in our city to support it? How often do people go to other cities' community theaters? That's my ignorance. I'm being honest. I don't live in this world. I don't know. And so my questions simply are around these estimates. I know they're rough estimates. I would hate to get us into a place where, oh, wow, we really overshot the mark and now we have to subsidize it to keep it going. That's my concern, right? But I love the idea. I'd like her to answer.
Come up, one thing to that note though, and I don't know if you'll hit on this, but depending on the show and the cast and the volume of people involved in a production could heavily sway that one way or the other, right? If you have a show that has 60 cast members.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then you make those assumptions that they're gonna have X amount of family attend, then that, you know, that goes this way. And if you have something that's a little bit more intimate and lower, then maybe it's not, and then you would be leaning more on just your theater folks that are like, hey, we want to
Yeah, the
attend.
hardcore ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing is, with this kind of model too, if you see a big gap in funding, you can go after additional sponsorship before it becomes a problem. So this
Yeah, and
one's
that's
a
what would be
little,
important.
it's a little easier when you, to predict it, because you know you have a little budroom when you.
And that's what I'd like to make sure we're aware of. Yeah, go ahead.
No, so just to kind of give you an idea of the run of a show, because you were surprised that in June, a show needs 2 months. 2 months in production phase to put on a show.
Wow.
That's the site. And of course, you have the time in advance to do auditions and to do that
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of thing. But 2 months, we need 2 months, maybe a little bit more, maybe a week or two more, but 2 months is what we need. As far as getting people here, like I said, I've been with Payson Community Theater, probably no one knows what PCT is, for 5 years, and Christina has been with them for 8 years. And the majority, people travel from all over to come
Really?
see their shows. Yes.
Wow.
So it is a destination, and we want to make Mapleton Community Theater a destination that people know there's quality performances. The talent that we have here is phenomenal. We want people to come. We want them to know that we can stand on our own feet in this performing world. And half capacity is a rough estimate. I can't tell you how many shows we sold out capacity at Payson.
At Payson, how big was your theater?
850? 850.
Oh, was it at the high school?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it'll vary. An opening night might be heavier than like a day into the performances. So it's all going to vary, and it all levels out in the end. But ultimately, with creative funding options, it should take care of itself.
Well, I would like to see is not as a condition for approving something, but as part of the buildup of it, put that survey out on our social media
I
channels.
would love to do that. That would be amazing.
Yeah, as an awareness or a feedback loop, whatever that is, I think that would be a great way to engage the broader community and leverage the city's reach on that.
For sure.
Come on up. Come stand up here.
I wanted to point out, so I was actually the president of Payson Community Theater for 3 years.
Oh.
And I just finished directing a show, not this past summer, but the summer before that. And one of our leads came from Draper to be in our show in Payson. And we have people coming from American Fork, Lehigh, everything, coming to Payson to either be in the show or to see the show.
How long has Payson Community Theater been?
Over 60 years.
Okay, so there's a tradition
Yeah,
of that.
there's a tradition, and they've already kind of established, they have an established standard.
There's a
And
following.
so, yeah, a lot of people go see those shows, and we do the family-friendly thing, we do all that. But I just wanted to point out, we definitely have, or we have had a huge reach. And what I think is sad is that it seems like lots of these communities, they might have their little community theaters, and I was like, well, how come we don't have one? How come Mapleton doesn't have one, you know? And that's when, you know, Katie and I get together, and Katie starts saying, well, let's see what we can do, and we start talking and stuff like that, so.
And then your ideas
But-
just start spinning?
And, yeah, she's an idea chick, she's an idea chica, so she's got lots of.
I'm going to put one more time. Just an example, when we directed this Secret Garden over in Payson, we had people here who were in that show from Mapleton. And it was quite a burden on the parents of these kids who were in the show because it was the hour transition
Yeah.
every time they had to go. So having something close to home is incredible. So
How-
just as an idea.
How popular or common is it in the theater world to cross-market shows? Like, do you put a poster up in Payson to advertise Mapleton shows? I mean, is it a friendly?
We have a very friendly, I've already contacted Payson, we're talking to Spanish Fork. We have a very friendly community of theaters, and we all communicate and we talk about how we can help each other advertise. And we try to keep away from when they're performing, so we're not overlapping our performance dates, so that we want people, we share the same talent and we share the same community.
So it's very collaborative.
Yes, it's very collaborative. And they have wonderful resources that we would have access to as well.
Great.
Any other questions or thoughts?
What do you need from us?
A yay or nay?
Go for it.
This is a yay. I'm excited.
Could you be a little bit more like?
Okay, this is awesome. These three ladies to come out, have this idea, very supportive.
And they're excited and passionate about it. I think it's great.
Should we all give thumbs up for the picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
we should do
kind of
that.
next step, just so you kind of know what to expect, is we would, yes, put that out, but then we would work to formalize an actual committee, a community theater, Mapleton Community Theater Committee, which then we would bring back in a more, just like we do in all of our other committees, so it's an actual supported committee by the mayor and council, which then would then help lead the theater program. So, and then.
You would be able to bylaws and know how to elect presidents in each position? Okay.
Yep, so we know who, when somebody is in this position, what's their terms, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yep. So that would kind of be a next step from just kind of more like clerical. But then we would, we'll work to start getting with Destiny on getting a kind of a strategy together on how we get it out to the community from an actual, from auditions and being involved. I think what was fun to read through the survey was not only are people wanting to be involved by, acting or having their kids be involved, but I mean, there was responses of, I've been a sound engineer for this concert venue for 20 years. I'd love to work in my hometown. And I think that's the opportunity where we really collaborate and bring people together is, when you look outside of the person singing on stage, but the person behind stage. And when you read through our survey, there's just so many of those people that are like, ooh, I have this talent and I could bring to it, and I have this talent, and that was what was really unique and fun to
I'll admit it. I'm channeling my anxiety around hosting a Creative Memories party like 25 years ago, and nobody came. Now, I didn't have that tight of a group that did scrapbooking, but that's like the fear, that you have a party and nobody comes. So I'll admit, I'm channeling that anxiety to make sure that we have people that buy tickets.
We'll be there.
Okay, I'll trust you. I'll trust you on this.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
My mom did come to that party, I will say. My mom did come. My mom came.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time.
So awesome.
Okay, really quick, hopefully, staff reports, administrative reports. Let's start with Rob. You got anything? You've said enough. Jessica?
Us were up at the league event today. Good times there. The mid-year conference is in April 22nd through 24th in St. George. Camille always takes care of us for that. Property tax is probably okay, my mic doesn't want to turn on. So, there we go. So the league, we had a board meeting today and agreed on 2 statements about the principles of property tax that we're going to look for this session, because there's a ton of stuff, and the penalty for, if things, there's like 5 different proposals right now, and the penalty for cities who are highly dependent on property taxes, a few of them, you lose a ton of money, and we can't afford that. So, and we're not alone. There are plenty of cities who don't have a lot of retail or anything. So number 1, cities and towns should retain the authority to increase property tax without being subject to statutory limits or requirements for voter approval. And the state of Utah should understand the impacts and consequences on cities and towns of changing the value of the primary residential exemption and of the property tax process as a whole. Some other fun ones I heard about today that I didn't know were coming. There is a law proposed, or a bill filed for preventing cities from being able to name roads in their own community. The irony being, if all of this development is happening and all these houses coming in and we have to submit every potential city name to the state, the legislature will throw everything down, so that's kind of fun. Also, that the legislature would have to approve city flags. You can thank Salt Lake for both of those. The detached accessory dwelling units is a big thing. The one on that we probably won't die on the Hill, but it's probably going to say you have to allow a detached accessory dwelling unit for any lot 5,000 square feet or bigger. It might not be where people want to spend their political capital this year because there's a ton of stuff, so it's sort of like, The assumption is that it meets your setback requirements, though, so it could work out okay. So watch for that. And then there's some interesting ones that I hadn't heard of before about a city not being able to regulate an online business in their community. So some of that was like the old school Airbnb stuff, but I got an example today about a person who has an app where they rent Serons or scooters in their own city. And it's illegal. They're not allowed to do that from their home in the first place, but then they're renting to illegal people. So the city couldn't shut down the app, but they could go cite the individuals. This could get a little complicated. Cities aren't usually in the business of dealing with that anyway, but it's a little wonky. Just a thought for consideration, as we had some feedback today. I don't think we've offered any e-bike safety classes here. I'd be curious if we should, maybe through Public Safety and Parks and Rec, offer some e-bike safety or Serons. I mean, the Serons aren't even like street legal unless they have the signals and stuff on them, which I don't think, but, so I wouldn't want to encourage that, but maybe an e-bike safety class would be helpful. There's a lot of that at the legislature, so that's it.
Okay, Melanie.
None, I'm just excited to get the assignments.
Good. Awesome. Jake?
Well, I feel like I won the lottery. I get to be over Parks and Recs. These wonderful ladies, this assignment's going to be fun. I'm going to have fun. I'm excited to work with Logan in the Parks and Rec department. Logan didn't talk about the Burn Bright, but we just had Burn Bright, and it was a very successful event. It was very well attended, and I had a lot of fun. It was my first time attending, so it was a very successful event.
It was. It was awesome. That it? Not really anything for me, other than we do need to, I know we're sensitive on time, but we do need to have a quick closed session afterwards. Casey?
I don't have anything.
No
Leslie?
report. No report.
Piggybacking on with city council assignments, feel free to reach out to the department heads that you're assigned to, or if not, I'll get with them and have them reach out to you, or you're welcome to reach out to me as well. But we're excited to have you help us with all of our projects. Also, and I'll send an email out tomorrow, but if you'll plan on February 4th and February 5th, we'll do some retreat on both of those days in the afternoon. Obviously, on the 4th, we also have city council that night, and I believe, Camille, you plan on doing pictures, so we'll get you all the specifics. But thank you for your efforts in putting down all of the topics you'd like us to discuss. So we've got those compiled, and we'll be ready to go for those 2 days.
So to clarify, we'll have the work session retreat on the 4th, starting at 12:30 to 4:30. Then we can go home and get, how'd you say it? Get cute?
We need to get cute
We need to
for
get
pictures.
cute. And then come back prior to the city council meeting to do pictures, and then city council meeting.
What time
Correct.
prior to the city council meeting?
Well, we'd probably need 5 o'clock at
5,
least.
I
yeah.
think so. Will you just confirm with us a time? Okay.
That only gives us 30 minutes to get cute.
Yeah, you're going to have to let us out at 4
Yeah,
o'clock.
we'll do that.
I need more time for cuteness.
Yep, we'll do that.
Okay. And then meet again the next day at the same time?
Same time,
12:30.
yeah.
Okay,
Yep, and like I said, I'll send out an email tomorrow with the specifics on it, so.
okay. Logan?
I told you I could go all night, so. I left this annual report there on your pew. I think, I don't really need to say anything other than a big shout out and thank you to our staff. As you look through this, I always love to just see smiling faces and again, community members coming together and so, thank you to Christy for helping put it together. But also just a big kudos and shout out to our staff. They're doing a great job, and I think this report shows that. And so, yeah, if you have any questions on it, feel free to reach out. And I wanted to publicly say thank you to Casey for the last 4 years we've had together. It's been awesome. I appreciated working with you and look forward to working with you, Jake. So, and then, yeah, I'll echo Burn Bright went really well. Weather turned out really nice. Didn't have any little tornadoes of fire wanting to go anywhere, so that was nice. And had really good feedback from those that attended, and so thank you for those that came.
It was on my calendar, Logan, and then it disappeared.
It was close to your bedtime, so.
Well, so's tonight, but there.
I thought the fireworks was a real nice touch.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun, so.
Sorry, I
And-
missed it.
The DJ you hired said that you've hired him for lot more activities for
Yeah.
the year.
Yep, again, that's another kind of unique, I mean, he's a Mapleton resident. He reached out to us and said, hey, I would love to continue. We actually were introduced through Pioneer Days with Jake and Jessica when they are on our committee. They had a mutual relationship there. And so, yeah, we've actually been able to negotiate a contract where he'll be able to do everything, which saved us a lot of money. And,
great.
and then building upon somebody who loves this community, so.
And you did a
yeah,
great job.
Yeah, he's fun. He's got a lot of energy. Sometimes we gotta corral him in from his energy.
That's your
but-
job, Jake. Bring him in.
But yeah, he does awesome. So one thing just quickly on for next year. So my father-in-law served on the Utah County Bomb Squad and Task Force for a number of years. And he was there and he teased me that he wants to do a bomb squad training next year where they actually are able to detonate things which then we could maybe potentially have the fire detonate. And all the safety would be followed, be run by the Utah County Bomb Squad. But it'd be awesome.
Logan, do it.
It'd be good
That'd be
training,
awesome.
good training for them. So, it's just a sneak peek for next year, so,
That's cool.
thanks.
Okay, Bryce. Okay. Chief Hooley,
Yeah, real quick, sorry, it's late.
you got 92 minutes.
92 minutes.
That's it. Don't go over.
Well, I've been drinking water through a fire hose, that's for sure, but it's been such a good experience so far. Over the first week, I've actually had the opportunity to sit down, ride with, or dine with every member of the police department. It's been so good to be one-on-one with them, get their feedback, hear their ideas, hear their goals, and I'm pretty excited to help them achieve them all. So that's to come, probably in the retreat and some of that stuff. Just as an item of business, I officially became the representative for the animal shelter for our city. I replaced John. After speaking with the mayor, he thought he should just stay with the police chief, so I'll represent there. And then tomorrow kicks off our interview process for our new opening. Officer Fernandez left, so we're going to start interviewing tomorrow for that position. And we potentially have a second opening in the police department as Detective Hatch wants to be a mom and go part-time. So we're going to just see if we can identify 2 candidates through the interview process, so.
Do we have an official status update on Officer Nix?
Yes, officially, unofficial. So Officer Nix was injured, and it's the equivalent of a torn ACL. And so we've had some opinions on the medical side. The surgery is quite expensive, and it only has a 50-50 recovery. So that's where we're at with the discussions with Detective Hatch and Nix and the K-9 program, so.
We're planning on at the retreat talking about that a little bit as far as what we do next.
TBD.
TBD. That's all I have, so thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, I think that's it. We'll entertain a motion to close this session and move into a closed session pursuant to personnel.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.